Another night with the area between the couch cushions for Louise.
You're doing it all wrong, bro. You want to pick up a lady? Listen to me. Step 1, a peacock. Wear an item of clothing that will catch their attention. Notice my cape? I just watch.
Hey, Mario, I like your cape. I had no idea it was dress up like a fucking 5-year-old on Halloween day today. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rolling 20. We are the show that says, now that Viewpoint has amnesia, it's official. Batman is the biggest soap opera on the planet. I am Jeremy.
Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machinae Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinaesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard was Super Mario Pickup Artist by Dorkly. You can find more of their videos on youtube.com under their channel of Dorkly. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, I am very sore. I'm still working on my mom's shed in my spare time.
Hook that plow directly up to you and you're tilling the ground, or what?
No, just putting new plywood up. Finally got all that done, and working on the tar paper now before we can shingle.
You better hurry up. It's supposed to be a wet winter out here.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping it will only take through this weekend.
Oh, okay. Jesse,
Yeah,
how about
you? Still absorbed in Destiny.
You're supposed to play it on the Xbox, not via skin, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know,
Still
I'm almost afraid
over it.
I'm afraid to ask where you're hanging the disc, but I'll leave that alone for right now. V, how are you?
Oh, all right. Nothing really momentous to report.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting here trying to get over a cold, so if I hack every now and again, I'm sorry. I had the worst muscle strain on Sunday to the point I couldn't make it to work on Monday.
Ooh.
I apparently slept superbly badly on my neck to the point where I woke up unable to turn my head left or right.
Done that.
And how did you sit up when that happened? Because mine was embarrassing.
I believe I slowly slid out of bed feet first.
Because I had to roll around like a turtle until I could get off my back.
Damn.
It was
Almost
awful.
sounds like me when I threw my back out.
It was utterly awful because I have a bed built for two, you know. That means that there's a lot of territory I have to cover, and I'm one of those people that I'm more comfortable sleeping near a wall, so that's where my side of the bed faces.
Ooh.
When you can't get up, there's a lot of territory before you can get out of bed. So, I stayed home from work on Monday. Tuesday was not fun, but I could at least turn my head to the left, so I figure I might as well go to work. I can't burn all my sick days simply because I can't move. Yeah. But, today everything is very close to normal. Still a little stressed, but very close to what I consider normal for me anyway. The subject of the week is Irredeemable 1-4 from, I think it was by Boom Studios? Oh
yes.
My God,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I got that right. It was written by Mark Waid. We'll get into that after our news of the week. We have no Kickstarters to discuss, so we'll get directly into the video game news. And first up is an item that just came out today. SAG-AFTRA is a union that looks after voice actors, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's in addition to a bunch of other things. They're mulling over whether or not to produce a strike to obtain better conditions for its members. Specifically, they want better conditions for those who work on video games.
Really? I mean,
Yeah, they want it.
Screen Actors Guild voice, the voice guys for the Screen Actors Guild.
Specifically, they want it in contract if there's better protection and pay when a role requires physically demanding voice work, like repeated loud screams. Clearer definition between the roles of voice actors and motion caption actors. because voice actors are often unexpectedly to do motion capture for video games nowadays, and performance bonuses should a game sell over 2 million copies. According to the story on Kotaku, there's been attempts at negotiating a contract since February, but it has not gone well. So there's a vote going down early next month, and if over 75% of the voice actors agree, there will be a strike. I wonder what period of production this would affect, because obviously this won't affect anything likely to come out in the next 6 months or so.
Anyone that does Dragon Ball.
I thought they were going to stop doing shows that they weren't acting on. I mean, I never really found Dragon Ball to be a font of acting. Maybe they could hire the was it Team 4-Star?
I believe they already are.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm out of ideas. Can't save it. We're done. Team 4-Star does a bunch of fan parodies of Dragon Ball Online to the point where some of them have been rehired for actual jobs.
That's right. The abridged.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know where that story necessarily be going. It'll be interesting to see where it ends up, though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think those are unreasonable demands. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I just don't know what the bottom line is on these things. I know how much money is generally made by companies, but like most things, there's no details as to where that money goes.
True. And I don't know what kind of bonus they're asking for games that go over 2 million either, so that could be a sticking point.
Yeah, it could be. There is another story here in regards to video games. However, this has to do with a video game that was Kickstarted. It's called Unsung Story. You guys familiar with this?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
Okay, this apparently was a Kickstarter from January of 2014. The company is called Playdeck, and they had a Kickstarter for what was called a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy Tactics.
Huh.
Almost
I'm
16...
surprised I hadn't heard about that because I would have gotten involved.
You may understand why. Apparently, almost 16,000 people gave money to Playdeck to make Unsung Story. The Kickstarter ended with $660,126.
Wow.
Okay, Playdeck promised that this game would come out in July of 2015. As of yesterday, an update sent out by CEO Joel Goodman said that the game has now been delayed to late 2016 thanks to layoffs and other unfortunate financial circumstances at the company. Now, this is the part where it gets sticky. Apparently, Playdeck has also changed the focus of the game, moving from a tactics-based turnstile RPG to more of a multiplayer game. And now the combat is about player versus player interaction. Phase 1 PvP beta release should be in 2016 of June of 2016. Additional servers, it looks like, would be added in September of 2016. Phase 3 would be in October, as well as Phase 4 and post. So the backers of this particular project are fucking pissed.
Yeah.
You know, that does fit under the category of bait and switch. Even if it wasn't their intention, that is what they did. They promised X for money, you gave money, and now you're getting Y.
And you don't want Y.
No, nobody wants Y. So it's an unfortunate problem that's going to have to be addressed very specifically. However, I don't know what the recourse is because I haven't heard... I've heard of Kickstarters failing. I've heard of them not delivering promises, so developing refunds. I've never heard of a Kickstarter changing its focus after they get the money, but they still plan on putting out the product. I don't know what the recourse is here.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. This may be a first.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's always got to be a first in something, and this is one of those cases where you don't want to be first, but here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be very upset. Now that I know the ultimate outcome, that's kind of a whoo moment for me, but at the same time, yeah, I feel for the people that did support that and now are not getting what they wanted.
Man, I would be so upset I would start speaking German, and no, I don't speak German. I have no idea what the language is, but I would develop it very frickin' quickly. There's a Super Mario Maker user called Pangea Panga, And he is notorious now, even though this game is relatively new, for making some of the most unusual and difficult Mario levels ever conceived. A video made it onto Kotaku of his work, and I stared at this thing. I have played Mario. I've played Mario, Mario 3. I've played Super Mario World. I have never seen a monstrosity like this man has put together. And I don't know whether to cheer and applaud him or hunt him down and have him killed before he unleashes more of this on the public.
Is there a YouTube?
What? I said I watched a video. What do you think there is? I sent the video. You can see the unusual jumps you gotta make just to begin this stupid level.
Crap.
It goes so fast I can't even describe, but I guess the best words I can use is there is no stable ground in the first 5 jumps of this game. And I have trouble discerning what exact motions that you're supposed to make to do this, but all I can say is, even for a game this simple, it's complicated.
Whoa!
Has to bounce on the green things in order to not die.
Yeah.
You have to be flashing in order to make it through part of this.
Mm-hmm. You've had to sacrifice Yoshis, jump on bricks that aren't stable ground. It's amazing.
What the fuck?
I don't know. Like I said, it defies description. It is so unbelievable. You can almost see the parts where he's thinking, but he's not sure.
Oh my gosh!
What the hell?
If you guys can narrate this, feel free, but I'm lost. I'm mystified.
And he wins.
Yeah. And that's the end of it. The rest of the video is all comments, like, basically saying, what the hell, this is fantastic, how did you do that? You know, you understand why people are mystified, because I just don't have words.
It's a timing run.
Yeah, I give him full credit. That's almost as good as Trackmania, you know, that 5-minute canyon race, but that man is insane. Here's something that Steve may find especially interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Square Enix is apparently working on a copy of Final Fantasy Type 0 online.
Huh.
Interesting.
A new online game based on the character models and designs from their recent release of Final Fantasy Type 0. It's in development. The game is aimed at global players, unlike Japan-centric games that were previously released, and there will be a beta test in China, of all places. It's going to be a hack and slash. It's going to be a hack and slash. It's expected to launch sometime between spring and summer of next year. Today, the game was also announced for smartphones, but according to Japanese sites like 4Gamer, it's also headed to PC.
Cool.
Japan has released a lot of interesting and innovative stuff, but I don't know too many times they've purposefully released a game for the global market.
Yeah, it seems like most of the time you're just kind of like, we make this for us. If you guys like it, that's cool.
It's usually about the way it goes. I mean, it's nice to see that there's a company in Japan that can get over the country's form of xenophobia and just produce something everybody can share. However, now that I've said that out loud, I also worry because that means you're going to have a lot of players with cultural differences that may not get the same cues.
Yeah.
So, it's a mixed bag. I hope it goes well. Really does. Or really does. God, I hate being sick. My syntax gets all screwed up. Last up in video game news, there's a game that I will want to play, Steve will want to play, Jesse might check out, and V might be suitably curious enough to make this a 4-player, frankly.
Okay.
What is this?
It's going to coincide with the return of a comic book that's coming out with new issues in 2016. The game is called Battle Chasers Night War.
Really?
Yes, a game based on the 2001 Image Comics series that was supposed to be an ongoing but turned to a mini because the artist and writer had no idea what to do with his editors. And by that I mean he didn't put out anything on time.
Oh, I wish I picked these up.
Yeah, it was originally created by Joe Maderia. He did all the art. And it's on Steam Greenlight and Kickstarter right now.
Cool.
I take it I take it the fact that I have a trailer is not lost on you guys, and I don't need to ask questions.
Just do it.
You are correct,
right.
sir.
All right. I sent the video. It was a dark and stormy night.
With a big ass fucking sword.
With a dark and stormy night.
Oh, this kind of actually reminds me a bit of the old
Several different games.
Dungeons and Dragons arcades.
Yeah, this is looks like a turn-based RPG. Complete with the original characters of Battle Chasers as the characters.
Right.
Although it looks like more flash animation. Complete with special moves. All you need now is Tifa to come in and kick the monster a couple times.
Now,
I
it's
guess
either a
on the
very dull
golem.
sword or a very strong werewolf.
He was using the stick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the designs. They did some good work here.
Yeah.
No, the golem.
Look at this sword attack.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, that looks.
That's a
painful.
lot of pain.
That was pointy. Oh, and they get animated screens in there, too.
Nice.
You know, this is one of those few American products that should almost be licensed by Japan to make a new animated series.
Oh, hell yeah.
This would make an awesome series.
That right there is Flash.
Yeah.
So it looks like you only have 3 characters, so they don't have the.
I didn't see
wizard.
the wizard as a playable, but I imagine he's in there somewhere. I mean, he's sitting around that fire. Unless he's supposed to be your innkeeper character.
Is he sitting around the fire? Where is he? I see the smoking golem. I see Gurney or something like that.
Galley.
Galley, yeah. And I see the fighter, but I did not see a wizard there.
I might be mistaken there. Battle Chasers was, as you can imagine, a fantasy comic. It was almost one of those Japanese-inspired techno fantasies.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the story revolves around Galley. Her father was an infamous hero to the local monarchy. And it was said that he derived his strength from his gloves. Well, one night, her father was killed, and she ran off in the night with a box.
Practically.
Yeah, she ran off in the night with a box. She made it to her neighbor's house, and her neighbor eventually introduced her to this crotchety old wizard who was running around with what was called a war golem. That was a 7-foot robot you saw.
Uh-huh.
And the war golem was just kind of his personal pack horse. They weren't looking to get involved in a fight, but when they were introduced to this girl, they knew her father's name, checked the box. It turns out it had her father's gloves in them. The gloves turn whoever the wearer is into a juggernaut. Nigh invulnerable, hard to stop, hard punching. She's the one that uses the gloves.
Nice.
She
And
was
so,
wearing
yeah,
the
that's
green
why those
cloak.
gloves are just gigantic in that trailer. It's because they're sized for her father, but...
She wears them.
Yep.
And they're a prize to be held throughout the kingdom. But now they're hers.
Yeah, and she's what, 10?
Something like that. You know, the swordsman had the standard tortured past history type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I wonder if Red Monica's going to be in the game, the pirate.
Yeah, right.
Huh.
And she
Okay.
used dual guns, if I remember correctly.
She used a something similar to a scimitar most of the time. But she was a pirate and bounty hunter and smuggler. She played all sides.
If there was money to be made.
Yeah. I need to read up on when this game is expected to come out, because now I'm really curious about this. That hit a soft spot in my childhood.
Again, I wish I picked that up. I saw it at the local comic shop. I saw the posters on it. I said, I want to read that. But never got around to it.
I read it, but it's hard to remember the story when certain issues came out like 4 months apart.
Oh, yeah.
We'll move from there into Marvel Media News, talking about the Marvel properties that aren't ending up on the comic book page. Wesley Snipes may be getting back in the deal.
Huh? Really?
Yeah, Wesley Snipes, for those who don't know, for 3 movies played Blade, the vampire. You could almost
Didn't
credit...
we talk about this?
Sort of.
Okay.
Because we talked about how there were rumors about Blade, or new movies being made about Blade, but we didn't know which company was doing it. I think New Line Pictures, I believe that's a Columbia or Universal subsidiary, made the first 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Snipes has been out of acting for a long period of time due to tax problems and imprisonment, and now he's just getting back into it with a TV series. And Wesley Snipes himself has been the one stoking the rumors of a possible 4th Blade movie. He told HuffPost Entertainment, quote, "There's always a possibility, you know? It's in Marvel's hands. They're controlling the pace and the flow with that. Conversations have been good. They see value in it. We see the value in it. I'm still in shape enough and fit enough to handle the role. We'll see how it goes. I don't really know what's going to happen yet," unquote. It's hard to know how...
Yeah. So how do you really feel about another Blade movie?
Depends. If it's similar in tone to the first one, I'm all for it. If it's like the second one, I can do without it. If it's like the third one,
God, no.
I have serious memory gaps when it comes to this. I think I've blocked out most of that, so I don't know how I feel about that. It's hard to tell how far to take this particular rumor, because we've seen before when people will pretend to have talked to somebody just to create buzz in a particular project. It's like how Ron Perlman recently has talked about Hellboy 3, and the entire nerd movie community sat up and went, "Hellboy 3, you're making it?" And that's when, Perlman basically said, "Yeah, if you want it made, go talk to the movie makers. Make them sign the deal." It's like, yeah, that's your job. Thanks. But Snipes also speculated about if a new Blade movie was made, would it integrate the character of Blade into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Avengers? And he said, quote, "That would be interesting. I mean, I know it's in the comic book. It would be interesting to see where they would place him and where he would really fit in. He's got to bite somebody. I don't know who he's going to bite," unquote.
Wait, Blade is actually connected to the Marvel?
Blade is a Marvel character.
Yes.
Yep.
Blade is a character that was made, if I remember correctly, in the 80s. He looked completely different in the comic books. By that, I mean mostly human and wore very normal-looking clothes. He looked like a vampire hunter, like a stereotypical vampire hunter. Brown trench coat, ruddy pants, carried a bunch of wooden stakes across his jacket and a bandolier. The only thing that marked him as different was, 1, he's black, and 2, he wore this weird green visor. Then in 2001, this movie came out after Blade as a character had been largely buried into the D-list of Marvel, and the movie just brought him right back to the forefront of comic readers' minds. Nobody nobody thought Blade could be interesting. You know what I mean?
So he wasn't interesting in the comics?
Not terribly, because most of the time you saw Blade, he was associated with Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch, Ghost Riders. If you have a guy that has, relatively super strength and occasionally has a need for blood, then you have him stand next to the guy whose head is on fire and rides a flaming motorcycle.
Yeah.
Not really a comparison. So, yeah, he often got buried in the background of the supernatural arm of Marvel. Then the New Line Cinema did the movie, and there's Wesley Snipes, with a fancy haircut, interesting tattoos, carrying not a katana, just like a straight sword, and talking jive, and all of a sudden the character was interesting for the first time ever. And then that design slowly started to work its way into the Marvel comics, and then the character was brought back into the forefront. He's been an Avengers associate and a member of the Mighty Avengers once. So him being integrated into the Marvel Universe movies wouldn't be out of the question if they went that route.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking,
Good to see it.
The rumor, as we understand it, is that they're talking about a 4th Blade movie where Blade is seeking out the daughter he didn't know he had. Which coincides with a Marvel comic that's recently come out, or advertised, where Blade is getting a new ongoing where he's teaming up with his daughter. So it's unknown whether Snipes was told something by people talking about making a movie, or if he just read the comic solicits and is trying to drum up interest. Speaking of interesting integration rumors, there is still a chance that a Sinister Six movie could happen.
Really?
Yeah, they talked to Drew, or I should say the people at IO9 talked to Drew Goddard. He wrote The Martian, and he was the one who wrote the Sinister Six film for Sony. He said, quote, "My vision of that movie was a summer annual. So you didn't have to worry about continuity. It was just, we take Peter, we put him on an adventure, we put him back in his life. I intentionally wanted a movie that didn't have to worry about mythology and continuity. It was important to me to make a movie that could stand on its own. So the good news is, it slots in very well to any plan anybody ever wants. We just need to let a couple years go by, I think." Apparently Marvel has been talking to Goddard about his particular script. And it's not necessarily getting pushed aside by the new plans to have a Spider-Man movie made by Marvel. It said, quote, "The tricky part about all this is I love this plan. I love that you get to see Spider-Man in Marvel movies. I think that's a great thing. I'm on board with that decision because, as a fan, that's what I want. So who knows what the future holds? This is Hollywood, man. You got to play the long game." Unquote.
Just like what Fox is doing.
Fox isn't playing the long game. They're playing this is ours, go away. And the only reason that their movies are getting a revival is because instead of going on the plan they originally had, they actually decided to hire, writers. But speaking in that vein, it's been announced, or it's been revealed by the director of the upcoming Spider-Man reboot for Marvel, of Peter Parker's approximate age.
Okay.
What, 15?
Actually, the director is John Watts, and he did say, quote, "I love the idea of making a coming-of-age high school movie. We're really going to see Peter Parker in high school and get deeper into the side of it. He's just 15 now." There, unquote. And then he went on to say where in Peter's life we're going to catch up with him when this movie is made.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, "There are only so many times you can kill Uncle Ben," unquote.
So, after
Later.
Uncle Ben.
After Uncle Ben died, obviously after the point where he's bitten by whatever genetically mutated radioactive spider,
That's it.
that
And just
grabs him this
focus
particular
on
time.
high school life. That actually could be pretty interesting.
Watch, this time Peter Parker's bitten by a radioactive teenager and he takes selfies everywhere he goes. So it's still Tom Holland in the webs. He's going to make his debut as Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War, which comes out May 6th of next year. It's getting close really fast.
Mm.
Now, this is interesting because last week I told you guys that Zack Snyder weighed in on superhero fatigue and how Batman and Superman is transcendent of potential superhero fatigue. They're not like the flavor of the week Ant-Man, as he put it.
Huh?
Flavor of the week, Ant-Man?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was referring. He refers specifically to Ant-Man because it was the most recent example, and he was citing that he didn't think Batman and Superman were flavor of the week heroes like Ant-Man or whatever man comes out next.
Wait, you got a super and a bat.
They both
Hey.
have man in their name, too.
Well, the
That's all
the interesting thing is two particular people have responded to Snyder's comments recently, and both of them played Marvel characters, but in different ways. The first one who reacted is Ryan Reynolds, the star of the Deadpool movie.
Uh-huh.
He responded to the potential superhero fatigue and the failure of the Green Lantern film. Quote, "And you look at them now, and I think why a lot of them are working is that Marvel in particular handles these properties really well. They really know what they're doing, and they know how to appeal to a vast audience in a way that also has some artistic merit, too. Then there are people that are just totally fatigued by the superhero genre. It's a genre. There are good horror movies and bad horror movies. There are good comedies and bad comedies. Think of it like that. Think of it less about just superheroes. I do believe that they explore similar archetypes a lot, so I think that notion can be somewhat fatiguing. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the reasons that Deadpool has gained a lot of momentum isn't just that it's funny or isn't just that it's rated R. The meta aspect is very important. So I think Deadpool is coming along at the right time because it's also speaking to that generation and that group of people that have seen them all, seen all these comic book films and enjoyed them all to varying degrees of success. But I think it's speaking to them as though the guy in that red suit is one of them, to some degree, unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So Reynolds, playing one of the most psychotic characters in Marvel, definitely took the high road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we're going to take a little bit about the low road.
Oh.
Yeah, and when you're talking
pulled
about the
that
low
straw?
road, when you're talking about the low road in Marvel, you can think of no better person to respond than the Winter Soldier, played by Sebastian Stan. He fired back at Snyder's comments when he said that, and he said, quote, "Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, do I want to fire some shots at DC right now? At Zack Snyder? Something about it's not going to be your flavor of the week Ant-Man." And I was like, oh, thanks, Zack. That's great. Way to do something original. But I would say we're still making something very original in our own way. I mean, the Russos are coming in and taking some things people are used to and they're shaping it up and changing it in a very different way. They're not trying to mimic a better Christopher Nolan movie or something like that, unquote.
Ooh, damn.
I like the fact that he said in the beginning of his statement, do I want to take a shot? And before he even answered that question, he took a shot. He did go on a little bit more to talk about the Winter Soldier in Civil War. Said, quote, "The character had, in my opinion, an introduction in Captain America the Winter Soldier. I mean, it's just sort of like a preview of the guy, which we get to so much more of in Civil War. And I'm grateful for that. But to see the response, that was awesome because it just made me think, wow, people really got behind the character. And that's what you're hoping for. Especially given that I didn't really have any lines to say or anything, which probably made it for the better, to be honest," unquote. It's amazing how two of the loudest characters in Marvel are the ones that have the most humble actors behind them about everything. You know, Stan and Evans. They just barely want to take credit for any of the success they have. Now, speaking of success, a strange milestone was passed this week. Ant-Man surpassed Captain America the First Avenger to become the third lowest domestic earner of Marvel Cinematic Films.
Huh.
Lowest?
Yes, Ant-Man surpassed Captain America the First Avenger to become the third lowest grossing movie in Marvel's stable. However, that's nothing to sneeze at, because the domestic total box office, mind you, domestic, no international sales, $177 million.
And that's low. Okay.
That's low. Captain America the First Avenger took in $176.6 million. Now, if you take the global number, Ant-Man earned over $400 million.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't take into account certain things that may have changed in the last few years, like the cost of IMAX prices or 3D ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
And Ant-Man stands a chance to surpass Thor's $449 million in global earnings before it leaves, because Ant-Man still has not opened in China yet.
Wow.
Flavor of the week, huh?
Yep.
Let me see. Coming soon, caught up with Tom Hiddleston, the actor that's played Loki in 3 films now?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
3 films, yeah. Sorry, he was talking a bit about the fact that Thor Ragnarok opens up in 2017, and it may not have the God of Mischief in it at all.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, they asked him about when he expects to play the character again, and he said, quote, I don't know. I think I won't be able to help it if I ever play him again. And I just don't know when that's going to happen, if that's going to happen. I would never lose his dimension, but it's so interesting. I've talked with Chris Hemsworth about how these characters have changed as we've changed. It's 5 years ago since I played him for the first time. That's a long time ago. So who knows what I'll be cooking up, unquote. I imagine that he will have some kind of role in Ragnarok, considering last we checked he's pretending to be Odin.
Yeah.
Right.
But it could be that Odin is playing him.
Technically. So I have no idea where exactly this is going, but he definitely doesn't know if there's any existence for Loki past this movie, which wouldn't be outside the realm of conceivable. I know it would make a lot of women cry. It would make my wife upset as well. However, we've discussed before, one thing that comic books have on top of movies, their characters don't age.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
actors age very little.
Yeah, actors do. And there's a certain point where you got to question when you're going to change this. So, Thor Ragnarok is currently scheduled for a release of November 3rd, 2017. Now, here's something I did not know. Apparently, actors in Marvel movies may be able to play more than one role.
Okay.
And something else I didn't know was that Zachary Levi, the guy who starred in Chuck,
Uh-huh.
he's been in a couple Marvel movies, and I had no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
He played Fandral the Warrior in Thor and Thor the Dark World.
Huh.
Remember the blonde swashbuckler with a broadsword?
Yeah.
Right.
That was Zachary Levi.
Really?
Yeah, Levi talked to Den of Geek about being Fandral, and he took the part when the original actor, Josh Dallas... Oh, no, I'm sorry, I had that wrong. Levi took over the role of Fandral in The Dark World. The original actor, Josh Dallas, was unable to appear in the sequel.
Okay.
And Levi said, quote, "It'd be a lot of fun to appear in another Marvel movie, but there's also a lot of other Marvel roles that I'd love to play one day. If I ever get to play Fandral again, I got to do it once. And it was a great group to work with." I had a very interesting talk with Kevin Feige early on about it all, and he said, "Look, it doesn't preclude you from playing another Marvel character. Chris Evans was the Human Torch and Captain America. Ray Stevenson was the Punisher and Volstagg." Unquote.
Gotcha.
And so Levi expanded on it and said, quote, "I did point out to him, in fairness, neither Fantastic Four nor The Punisher was actually a Marvel movie. You were part of it, but they were produced by other studios." But he said, "Look, I totally understand, but don't worry about it. I don't know if there's a right role that comes along and they want me to play it. I'd love to," unquote. So apparently there is no unwritten rule that says they won't recycle actors if they find the right roles for them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've done it with a few people, like...
I can't think of anybody that Marvel's used twice now.
Was Wanted a Marvel film?
What?
Wanted? No, that's...
Wanted was a Dark Horse book.
Yeah.
So, take that for what you will. And last up in Marvel media news, it's an action figure. It's an action figure from a company we don't usually hear about, Revoltech.
Ooh.
You know them, they make the Figmas. They're like roughly 6-inch figures from Japan, right?
Right.
Uh-huh.
Usually giant robots, sometimes anime mavens. In this case, they recreated an android. They have made a 6.7-inch Ultron.
Ooh.
The sneer on this thing is a little bit scary.
Dude, his face.
I know. He looks like he's ready to eat babies. It's a well-articulated body, too.
Yeah.
Even gave you a little aura effect for the finger lasers he has. So usually Figmas don't run too expensive. This one would only run about $48 domestically. I'm strongly considering that one. That's a really interesting piece.
It's only $48. That's more than reasonable.
Yeah, like I said, it's not overly tall, though. But 6.7 inches is still very noticeable. From there, we'll bounce forward into DC media news, and the first story is unfortunately a sad one. Do you guys know the actor Jack Larson?
No.
No? Don't think so.
Sounds familiar, but...
He passed away this past Sunday, September 20th.
Mm.
He was known as a producer. He was a screenwriter, a playwright. His most famous role, though, arguably, he was the one who played Jimmy Olsen in the Adventures of Superman TV series from 1952 to 1958.
Mm.
And after that, he did a lot of things afterward. He actually reprised his role as Olsen in other Superman-related media, and he had appearances in Superboy, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, and Superman Returns. Sounds like Warner gave him a lot of love after his early career.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, he has passed away.
Damn.
Now, Zack Snyder, who's turning into one of the more polarizing forces in comic book movies, he spoke a little bit more about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, because Henry Cavill himself, the guy who plays Superman, said recently that Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is not a sequel to Man of Steel, but is something separate. So that led people to speculate about a potential Man of Steel 2 sequel of some sort, right?
Mm-hmm.
According to the director Zack Snyder, quote, "I think in a way, Batman v Superman is Man of Steel 2. Justice League is kind of the transcendent Knights of the Round Table story. It'd be interesting to think about what a standalone Superman movie might be," unquote. He's using that transcendent word again.
I think he just learned it. You know how that happens whenever you learn a new word.
I know that happens with douchebags that I meet. You know, this coffee is transcendent. It puts you on a higher plane of existence. No, I'm talking about the maple. It's so transcendent. Oh, God, stop.
I don't think they know what that word means.
Transcendent or stop?
I thought he meant
Yes.
stop.
Well, one of the creators one of the earliest writers of Batman and a contributor to a lot of the early stories that kind of created the direction that Batman would take over time.
Mhm.
He's actually going to get a film credit. His name was Bill Finger. And DC Entertainment, via Heat Vision, released a statement that said that Mr. Finger will get a creative credit in both the Fox TV series Gotham and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. DC has begun acknowledging Finger as a co-creator along with Bob Kane of Batman himself.
Okay.
Cool.
I was wondering what started driving this.
Yeah, according to the statement, quote, Bill Finger was instrumental in developing many of the key creative elements that enrich the Batman universe, and we look forward to building on our acknowledgement of his significant role in DC Comics history. As part of our acknowledgement of those contributions, we are pleased to confirm today that Bill Finger will be receiving credit in the Warner Brothers television series Gotham beginning later this season, and in the forthcoming motion picture Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, unquote. I admit I'm not a Batman reader in general, so I didn't know the name, but hey, if he deserves that much credit, he deserves it.
Yep.
You know, that's the kind of thing that is difficult to take away from a person. Just ask the families of Joe Shuster and Joel Siegel. Actually, I think it's Joe Siegel and Joel Shuster. Yeah, that's correct. They were the ones who had to sue to get the credits back for the creation of Superman, if you recall.
Yeah.
Which was just messed up. There is a report that Warner Brothers is working on a new DC movie, and it looks like this next property may be a buddy comedy. According to Tracking Board, Warner Brothers may be working on the new movie of the Blue Beetle and Booster Gold.
Oh shit.
Who?
It'll take a couple minutes to explain. Strap in.
Okay.
Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are kind of the most successful inept heroes you will ever meet. The Blue Beetle is the second Blue Beetle. His name is Ted Kord. He was the runner of Kord Industries, and he inherited the mantle from somebody else who had a mystical Blue Beetle or a Blue Scarab totem, right?
Uh-huh.
He tried to get it work, but he couldn't. However, he was so inspired that he used some of his company's money to develop some non-lethal gadgets to become the Blue Beetle. So he has a beetle ship, he has a gas-firing pistol, he's relatively athletic, well off, and he does his best to do well. Never really been associated with too many teams. His most ignominious defeat... Yeah, his most ignominious defeat was when he was shot in the head by Maxwell Lord, which kicked off the Infinite Crisis.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Booster Gold is Blue Beetle's best friend, and this story, oh shit. He is the descendant of another DC hero, I forget which one in particular. However, he was a security guard at a museum for superheroes in the future. He wasn't anybody remarkable. Then one day he decided he was tired of being a security guard and wanted to get rich. So what did he do? He went into his job at the superhero museum, stole some equipment, made a costume for himself, used a time-traveling device, and went back in time to when superheroes were becoming prevalent, and figured he would use his knowledge of the future to stop crimes and become rich and famous. It's a decent plan, however, it doesn't work well when you have no goddamn idea what you're doing.
He has the gear, no training.
Yeah. He's also egomaniacal, will sign licensing deals at the drop of a hat. DC changed his attitude somewhat just before the Flashpoint, but he hasn't been seen much since then. He's made a couple appearances as a time traveler, but they've been sketchy. So these two together, as you can imagine, they work well, but they're a hot mess. And it sounds like DC is working on a movie based on this hot mess. Which is honestly, out of all the movies they've announced, this is the first one that makes me sit up. Because this could be hilarious.
But what about their unfunny, dogma or whatever you want to call it.
What do you mean?
Well, they said that they don't want their superhero movies to be humorous.
They probably don't consider this a superhero movie. They may just say this is a Warner Brothers comedy.
Okay.
Speaking of the unfunny, Robin Taylor Lord plays the Penguin in the Gotham TV series.
Mm-hmm.
You like that segue?
Yeah, that was good.
He talked a little bit about the rise of his character, the Penguin, to one of the heads of the Gotham Underground. He said, quote, "I think part of Gordon's growth and transformation as a character is basically reconciling with himself that he has to align himself with certain unsavory players in Gotham in order to get what he wants done. I think this could go on indefinitely because he's slowly coming to realize that he needs Penguin. And Penguin is realizing that even in the first season, he needed Gordon as well. Penguin was looking to Gordon as somebody he could trust and could be an actual friend. But now after what happened in the finale of the first season, with Gordon basically leaving him to die at the hospital, the relationship is much more strained," unquote.
No kidding.
You know, I forgot to take this out of my rotation, and it ended up in my DVR, the first episode of the second season. Still goofy, but better.
Is it really?
It's watchable now. It's not like painfully. It's not painfully stupid. They're not beating you up anymore with guess who's going to be Catwoman and guess who's going to be Penguin and guess who's going to be the Riddler. They're finally just letting the characters develop a bit. So it's still hammy. It's still a little ham-fisted, but it almost feels like somebody at Fox just grabbed the writers and said, "Hey, we need to have a meeting, and I'm going to take this tennis racket with me. Don't worry about it."
Whack.
So, like I said, it's still goofy, but it's better. It's almost like watching a couple episodes, like somebody tried to make the Batman 1966 series serious for a few minutes. That's what I'm getting now. So, I might watch a couple more episodes. Yeah, I might watch a couple more episodes to see if it actually goes anywhere positive. Still not holding out high hopes, though.
Maybe I should get back into it.
Well, maybe, because according to Bruno Heller, who's running who's a showrunner on Gotham, somebody asked him about whether or not the rumors of the Court of Owls coming to the TV show were true, and he said, quote, "Yeah, absolutely. I won't say that's part of... I don't even want to say that because I don't want to spoil part of the story. The Court of Owls is deep, deep, deep Gotham mythology. We are absolutely going to explore that world down the line. Looking at the longevity of the show, we have to hold some cards back. We just can't throw all of the elements, all of the story at once," unquote.
All right, that sounds interesting, actually.
Actually, Heller gave a mea culpa in regards to the first season of the show.
Really?
Yeah, he said, quote, "The long arc of the show is Bruce Wayne's journey of discovery down into the depths of the physical and metaphysical world of Gotham. The Court of Owls is a brilliant conceit that will absolutely be part of our storytelling. I just won't tell you when," unquote. He also admitted in a non-quoted statement that the first season of Gotham was overwhelmed with too many elements. I can agree to that. They tried to shove so much stuff down your throat in the first few episodes. That's what made me disgusted in the show. Or one of the things, I should say. At least it seems like someone's finally taking control and say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe we should do something written first."
Pull it back
Possibly,
a little bit.
Linear?
Let's try that thing that's sitting on the table over there. That thing over there. The script. Give me the goddamn script. Something of that nature. It's also been reported as of today that Legends of Tomorrow is adding a new character. At least new to the show. They're adding the character of Valentine Vostok.
Valentine Vostok.
Yeah, Valentine Vostok is actually an existing character. She's been a member of Checkmate as the White Queen, but originally she was a Russian pilot who was trying to defect from Soviet Russia by stealing an experimental superplane. The plane malfunctioned and she crashed at the island where the Doom Patrol died, where she took on the powers of the Negative Man and became the Negative Woman in a later iteration of the Doom Patrol. Word is that the character of Vostok will appear in one of the Legends of Tomorrow, as one of the Legends of Tomorrow team's time jumps via Rip Hunter to the Cold War era. The actress playing it is Stephanie Corneliuson. She's recently been cast as one of the lead characters or she's recently played, I should say, one of the lead characters in the first season of Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot loved that show. Absolutely loved it. Some of the twists were a little obvious, but the execution was incredible.
What's
And
it about?
I'm sorry,
What is it?
Mr. Mr. Robot is probably the most real-to-world hacking TV show you will ever see. They even had a segment, and I think the fourth or fifth episode, where two of the members of the hacking group at the center of the show, F Society, are watching the 1991 movie Hackers and making fun of it. One of them actually
that's
says, "I ain't
awesome.
never seen no computer virus that was CG animated, man. What the hell? Why do they talk?" I was reading up on the show after the season concluded, and there are two things I noticed. One was that the hacking in the show was noticeably uninteresting, but that's because they employed two real-life hackers as consultants.
Which is as it should be.
Yeah, and the second one was I noticed throughout the show something that was bothering me in that the camera lens never seemed to be focused on any particular person. It was always weirdly off-center.
Uh-huh.
That was a design choice. The reason why it was off-center was because the entire reason behind F Society doing what they're doing is they're trying to take down the world's biggest multinational conglomerate. If they make their data unreadable, that means people across the world will have almost no debt, if any at all. So the idea is the normal people in the world and these hackers are not the people controlling the world, so the camera is never focused directly on them. It's always off-center.
Huh.
And then during an epilogue scene in the last episode, only then is the camera actually focused on certain individuals because these are the top 1% of the top 1%, the people financially ruling the world. These are the center of the earth, basically.
Right.
It's an interesting choice, and if you get a chance to watch a show, I recommend it. It is dark, but it's one of those shows that is hard to turn away from. So seriously, when you turn on an episode and you can go to MrRobot.com and watch episodes of it, put a bowl of food in front of you because you're not going to want to move. That's my personal opinion. I have an image for you. CBS, actually, the ones working on the Supergirl TV show. They've released an image of what the Red Tornado is going to look like on the show. It is the actor. It's the actor in makeup, and I wish I had better words in this because I sent you guys the image. Frankly, I've seen better cosplayers at Dragon Con. I don't understand. That maybe something will be added in post-production to make this look better, but this looks like BMX armor stapled together with some kind of texture. He looks like a maskless version of one of the Mortal Kombat ninjas.
I could definitely see him CG in a cape for him, but other than that, it's like,
I'm sorry, Mortal Kombat cyborgs.
He
looks like one of the Mortal Kombat cyborgs.
Vision.
yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I know he's got those ice blue contacts in, but I'm trying to figure out, is he staring at the actress and playing a role, or is he looking at the makeup designers going, "You frickin' retards"?
They could just put a faceplate over there because he never had a human. Well, I guess he did. No, he never had a human-looking face.
Yeah, he has throughout his history. He's always had a human-shaped face. However, it's always been this one piece. It almost looks like a single cowl with that big yellow arrow coming over his head. He's always had a human-styled face. But actually, your suggestion of a faceplate would actually, I think it would save this costume because his face is just horrendously out of place compared to the rest of what this is. It's the one part that I guess kind of pulls it all apart.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking about the enemy. I'm thinking.
You're thinking about the guy that looked like Iron Man Mark III.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about for some reason.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Bruce Timm version. No, the Red Tornado in comics always had a face.
Yeah. Okay.
And last up in DC media news is a new clip, a new trailer for the Supergirl TV show that actually seems to have images of the characters of Maxwell Lord and Reactron in it.
Reactron?
We discussed him before. He's kind of like a nuclear-powered Tony Stark, but evil.
Oh. I think I've heard of
Crimson
that.
Dynamo?
No, his name is Reactron. He's a multinational corporate raider who decided to make his own suit of armor and attempt extortion to up his profits. It never really went well.
An evil Tony Stark. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I sent the video.
Now, CBS presents never-before-seen footage of the new drama, Supergirl.
Never before seen, huh? I bet you somebody's seen it.
monitors and protects Earth from extraterrestrial presence and
The Department of Extra Normal Operations.
worst criminals
Dino.
in the galaxy escaped.
I see a city full of people who need help. Who need a hero.
Earth doesn't have just one hero anymore.
Okay, that doesn't
now
work.
it has Supergirl.
What, the whole running forward and ripping open her blouse thing?
Yeah.
That just...
Yeah, that was cheese. I assume that the slick-looking idiot there is supposed to be Maxwell Lord.
Who's Maxwell Lord? The guy we were just talking about?
The guy who was dancing with Melissa Flockhart.
Welcome to the future.
Him.
He knows what you told him.
So they gave Supergirl thigh high again. Eh?
Supergirl, world premiere, CBS Monday, October 26th.
What do you think? Does this improve or diminish your opinion of the show?
Probably change it.
I still haven't seen it, so obviously I still don't know, but on a...
Well, the pilot was leaked like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I haven't watched it.
It does raise the bar a little bit, but still gives me a feel of Lois and Clark.
Yeah, which to me actually isn't a bad thing. I enjoyed that show.
I think one of the problems is they got to get over the initial cheesiness and a lot of the girl power kind of phrase work they use it early on in the pilot and probably the first couple episodes. You know, they got to get... They got to just tell the story of her as a person rather than the struggle of being a woman in a man's world and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're prepared to do that. Moving into general media news, there is a rumor regarding Star Wars 8 that might make a bunch of people jump off a cliff.
Oh.
Yeah. There's a rumor that there may be some clone action going on in Star Wars 8, which might bring Hayden Christensen back to the series.
Oh.
What? No.
Yes. This is according to the site Making Star Wars. Quote, a team in the UK are soon heading to the US to begin training Hayden Christensen for a Star Wars Episode 8 appearance of some sort. This is a rumor. I raise an eyebrow at incredulously, unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it's a rumor, but it's an important rumor because if this is happening, you need to steel yourself. Steel your resolve. Don't eat before you go to the theater. So I don't quite know where to take that, but don't do it. Please don't do it. And unfortunately, I have two stories that are don't do it's back to back. Because there's a report that coming out of the writer's room of the block of writers they've hired to work on this particular series, 2 new Transformers sequels have been blocked out, at least this plot line's been written, and 3 more are being considered.
5 more Transformers movies?
Do we really need 5 Transformers movies?
I would argue
No.
we don't even need the 4 we have. You know, we could keep 1 or 2 of those and ditch the others. Let me see. There's also a Transformers animated prequel set on Cybertron that's being done by Ant-Man screenwriters Andrew Barrier and Gabriel Ferrari. Akiva Goldsman is writing Transformers 5, and I've heard that name before. Akiva Goldsman was made fun of a lot by Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman.
Okay.
He's a movie writer. I'm looking through the stuff he's done, and I don't know what his deal is. He apparently worked on several episodes of Fringe. He did... Oh, wow. He's done a lot of questionable shit. You want to hear a filmography?
Shoot.
Yeah, I guess.
The Client, Silent Fall, Batman Forever, A Time to Kill, Batman and Robin, Lost in Space, Practical Magic, A Beautiful Mind, I, Robot, Cinderella Man, The Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons. It seems like people stopped trusting him to write stuff after that because he doesn't write anything till 2014 with Winter's Tale, the Divergent series Insurgent, Rings, Titans, and the Jansen Directive.
Well, iRobot wasn't bad.
I
Batman Forever
like
and
that one.
Batman and Robin.
Well, yeah, those I'm not defending.
Lost in Space and Deep Blue Sea were pretty tough too.
I haven't seen
I don't know.
those
Lost in
two.
Space wasn't horrible.
Wasn't good.
I don't know. I enjoyed watching it. I had no issues with it.
Oh, how about this for a new story? Ernie Hudson is going to be in the Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, heard about that.
Right, yeah, yep.
Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zedmore in the original film, has agreed to be in the all-female-centric Ghostbusters film coming up, which means that all three of the surviving Ghostbusters are actually going to be in this movie in some format. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and now Ernie Hudson. Harold Ramis probably would have done it, however, he has a little problem.
Yep, he is dead.
He's 6 feet under.
Yeah. Yeah. Not impossible to overcome, but I don't expect the zombie apocalypse to actually happen.
Although it would be strangely ironic for the Ghostbusters movie.
Wouldn't that be something, though? You CG in an Egon Spangler near the end of the film, and that's who you got to bust for the last ghost in the movie?
I figured you could just do it Jedi form, you know?
Oh, okay. I like my idea more. Hudson told The Telegraph regarding Paul Feig's reboot, quote, "If it has nothing to do with the other two movies and it's all female, then why are you calling it Ghostbusters? I love females. I hope that if they go that way, at least they'll be funny, and if they're not funny, at least hopefully it'll be sexy. I love the idea of including women. I think that's great. But all female, I think would be a bad idea. I don't think the fans want to see that," unquote.
Yeah, I was never crazy about that as soon as it was mentioned.
I don't like the idea as a hook. If it's just going to be a new movie, I don't mind.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
that
I don't
shouldn't be
mind
the
if
hook.
I don't mind if it happens to have all females.
Yeah.
But
And in case you don't know, Ernie Hudson has a love-hate affair with the Ghostbusters film, the original one. The role as it was pitched to him and he originally auditioned for, it was a very meaty role for the character. But as the editing happened, a lot of his scenes hit the cutting room floor. There was a lot of his stuff that was taken out, both pre and post-production. So he's always been a little bit burned by the idea of the film. I can respect that. You know, if you're told you're going to do something and then you show up and they give you less and then, you know, you finish filming everything and then they cut a lot more of that out, I'd be kind of pissy about that too.
Yeah.
Especially
Have they
have that
ever said why?
Not directly. And if you think about it, he's got even a better reason to be pissed off with him, considering how this movie's achieved cult status and he was supposed to have a bigger part in it.
Yeah.
So, poor guy. We have another actor that's leaving a show soon. V.
what is it?
Yeah, it's been confirmed. Jenna Coleman, after this season, is off Doctor Who.
Oh.
Yeah.
The
There's a
actress has been
story
playing-
in EW this week for why she left and who the possible replacements could be.
The story I have from IO9 doesn't talk about replacements. She did discuss with BBC Radio that she had been talking about getting out of the show for the past year solid. They were just looking for the right exit point. And I guess they never felt like they hit the exact one as they were going along. But as of this Christmas episode, it sounds like that, or by the Christmas episode, she will officially be out of the show. And because Coleman told BBC Radio, quote, "I have left the TARDIS. It's happened. I filmed my last scenes," unquote.
Well, I'll be sad to see her go, but hopefully we'll get someone good.
Yeah, she didn't leave a whole lot of details. She told BBC, quote, "It's been in the works for a very long time. Stephen Moffat and I sat down a year and a half ago and tried to work out the best place to do it and tell a really good story. We're not going to give any details, but it will happen at some point this season. We worked out a really good story arc, so hopefully people will love it," unquote. The season started as of this last Saturday.
Yep.
And the season opener opened with a bang, that's for sure.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that was one hell of a bang.
Yeah. Let's see. There are a lot of fans out there who are going to be looking to put together some money rather quickly.
Oh?
Yeah, there is a certain bikini going up for auction. A certain metallic bikini.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. The infamous Slave Leia outfit from Return of the Jedi, the one worn on screen, is up for auction.
Okay.
It's expected to sell at $80,000, as high as $120,000. It's going up via the Hollywood memorabilia auction house, The Profiles in History. They're offering that item and several others used in making the original trilogy of Star Wars, including helmets, miniatures, shooting scripts, and more. The auction begins September 29th, but only runs through October 1st.
That's pretty short.
Well, you can bet that people who are interested already know this is coming. I doubt there's going to be a whole lot of waiting. And besides which, if you open this up for weeks worth of bidding, goodness knows what people will do. They'll probably open up third mortgages on their houses to grab some of this stuff. V.
Yes?
Mark it on your calendar, July 8th, 2016.
Why?
No, I'm sorry. Mark on your calendar, July 22nd, 2016.
Still with the why?
That is the opening date for Star Trek Beyond.
Okay.
The movie was originally to open on July 8th, 2016. According to unnamed sources, the Hollywood Trade says it was moved in order to make the film secure for more IMAX screens. So even with this new date, though, they're going to have to compete with Guy Ritchie's new King Arthur film for the limited IMAX screens. Before, they were competing with the Tarzan movie that was coming out 1 week prior.
Oh,
When's it
no.
coming out?
July 22nd, 2016.
That's right smack in the middle of Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's the week that. I think that's the day before Comic-Con.
No, it's in the middle of it. It's
I wonder if they're going to release it
July 20th through the 24th.
at Comic-Con.
So we have a movie to go see while we're there.
Yep.
I'm not seeing a movie during Comic. Fuck you, no.
I can wait.
If Comic-Con's happening, I'll see it like the Tuesday after I go home or something. Much as I'd like to see a movie with you guys, we had partial access to Comic-Con and we were too busy.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
We have a movie to watch at Comic-Con if nobody gets fucking tickets.
We have a movie to watch at Comic-Con, assuming we all stay the evening after Comic-Con closes. You know what I mean? Like Sunday afternoon it closes, Sunday night we go see a movie, and then Monday we go our separate ways. Which sounds like the ugliest divorce ever. But we can mark that on our calendar. Maybe we'll stay Sunday night and watch a movie, because there is a movie theater in that neighborhood.
Yes.
That sounds like a fucking plan.
I was literally just about to say it sounds like a plan.
All right. Now we have to get through step 1, Comic-Con badges.
Yep.
It's okay. How'd you like your drinks frozen by Han Solo?
Context.
Yes, please.
If you go to Walmart and pre-order a copy of Star Wars Battlefront, you will receive you have a chance to receive a limited edition, if you get the deluxe edition of Star Wars Battlefront, of a 12-ounce can holding mini fridge with Han Solo frozen in carbonite as the front door.
Oh my god. That's amazing.
There's no news as far as quantity. I can only imagine it's limited, but it's a strange little device. I can't say it's a handsome looking device, but there's something about this that is just funny enough that I want one. Especially with the latch handle. That just adds a little more comedy to it.
That's so cool.
Wouldn't that be great if you have someone over? Dude, let's sit down and watch Star Trek. Reach into Han Solo and grab me a Pepsi. What? There's no way you can say that without it being hilarious.
No way you'd want to say it without it being hilarious.
The creator of the original G.I. Joe is looking to reclaim ownership of his product from Hasbro.
Yeah, that's going to be expensive.
That.
Yeah, the original inventor, Stan Weston, he's going to court to reclaim ownership to the multi-million-dollar franchise. Weston sold the idea for a military-based toy line to Hasbro back in 1963 for a one-time sum. He's not getting royalties on this. I wonder how this is going to be argued, because in 1963, for the rights, he received $100,000.
That's a lot of money.
In 1963, that's a ton of cash. Over time, Hasbro did elaborate in the concept and came up with the G.I. Joe name. but Weston maintains that the core concept he sold is still the basis for the modern franchise. He may be suing for it. He may be just looking for some kind of royalty, some kind of percentage. However, knowing the way that, I mean, we've discussed the corporate contracts were written up for DC and Marvel like back in the 60s. They're pretty much ironclad. If Hasbro is anywhere near that savvy, I don't know how he can win. So
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, well, that's not the only lawsuit I have news on this week, but that's the only one we'll talk about at the moment. And last up in general media news, we've talked about the Play Arts Kai stuff for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, which one?
You know, Square Enix and their insane renditions of Star Wars figures.
Uh-huh.
You know, some of them interesting, some of them horrible. How'd you like to see a gallery on Toy Arc where they put 4 of them side by side, all aligned on the same side of the Force, and possibly come up with the baddest image you've ever seen?
Shoot.
Okay.
Because we've seen their Play Arts Kai, right? We've seen their Stormtrooper, their Darth Vader, their Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
They came up with a gallery while they're doing test shots for the new Darth Maul figure. And we saw the early prototypes of this.
Uh-huh.
Now here it is fully colored. Scroll down near the bottom of the screen and take a look at that 4 shot.
With
Oh, nice.
4 of them?
Yep. The Stormtrooper, Darth Vader, Boba Fett, and Darth Maul all standing in one picture.
I really like the Stormtrooper.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe it's
sleek.
maybe it has to do with the fact that these are not real people, so the poses are a little more dynamic than you usually see in Star Wars. But that is an interesting picture of the 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a really evil version of the Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
You know, that's almost one of those things where you could see them in a lineup. Okay, so which one of you killed the rebel? Yes.
And the Stormtrooper says, "Not it. I can't shoot."
The Stormtrooper says, "What? I can't see you through this thing." But all 4 of those combined, I mean, the Darth Maul as an individual figure is awesome. The 4 of those in one picture, holy shit, all of a sudden I want to spend money, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, moving forward, we don't have a whole lot of comic news this week, but we will go through what we have. And first up is Marvel Comics. There was a new series announced today. Or yesterday, I'm sorry. Yep, the Black Panther's getting a new book.
Really?
Yeah, it's starting in...
coming up on the movie.
Well, it's interesting because this has more of a concept than the Black Panther has had in any of his previous books. According to the New York Times, in 2016, the Black Panther is going to be written by Ta-Nehisi Coates and illustrated by Brian Stelfreeze. They have a year-long storyline to start this series called A Nation Under Our Feet. It's supposed to be inspired by a Stephen Hahn book that shared the same name. According to Marvel's editor-in-chief, Axel Alonso, quote, "It's going to be a story that repositions the Black Panther in the minds of our readers. It really moves him forward," unquote. The first story is about T'Challa as king of Wakanda coming into conflict with a superhuman terrorist group called the People that incites a violent uprising within his own country.
Could be interesting.
This could be a very meta book. The author... Ta-Nehisi Coates, he's well known as a superhero comic reader, and he said he was invited to write the Black Panther after he interviewed with Marvel editor Sana Amanat. He's best known for writing mainstream nonfiction, and his comic book debut won't be too different from the journalistic work he does. He says, quote, "I don't experience the stuff I write about as weighty. I feel a strong need to express something. The writing usually lifts the weight. I expect to be doing the same thing for Marvel," unquote. I'm not generally a Black Panther reader, but I like the storyline they've come up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not too many times that they've actually done a lot with him in his own kingdom being king. That's usually like, a side story or something like that. He's always out doing
with the
something
Avengers,
somewhere
and then
else.
Right, and then about the time they defeat the bad guy, well, I'm back to sit on my throne. See ya. Although I do like this concept of this terrorist group, the People, not because I like the idea of terrorism. Don't misquote me there, please, Internet. the thing I like, though, is that him being king and dealing with this group called the People, you can almost feel that he's going to have to come into conflict about the duties of a monarch versus the duties of actually serving the people. Which has got to be difficult in his situation because he's technically doing both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this sounds like it's going to be a really socially complicated story, and I look forward to it. This sounds really cool. Marvel Comics has also named a new head of physical production. They've named Marvel Studios producer Victoria Alonso to the role. She started working with Marvel just before 2008's Iron Man movie, overseeing visual effects for the Marvel films. Then in 2012, she graduated to a full executive producer with the Avengers, and continuing on through subsequent films. Her new duties will be overseeing all physical production, post-production, and production technical operations for Marvel itself.
Cool.
Sounds like she's moved up in the world.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably one of the people that's going to be reporting directly to Kevin Feige now that he doesn't have a bunch of other people yelling in his ear. And last up in Marvel comic news, the artist on Amazing Spider-Man, his name is Giuseppe Camuncoli. Mm-hmm. He said that Parker is going to have more power than he's ever had before.
Yeah, he's going to be rich.
Well, that's the thing, is that as the head of a new multinational corporation, he has more power than ever before. So as the character implies, that means that Spider-Man is going to have more responsibility than he's ever had before.
Yeah.
As goes the slogan for them.
Well, this is new. This is really new territory for Spider-Man. He's always been kind of the lovable loser of Marvel's A-list.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that stuff never works out for in the long term, and it looks like for the first time, he's got a plan that works. Now, last I checked...
It makes you wonder what's going to fuck up.
Well, I don't know. Last I heard, before the Secret Wars, the CEO of his company was working with a Black Cat trying to take him down. It looks like that didn't go so well, because that's when Parker Industries was still basically a lab. So there's a question of how deep does this go?
Octavius comes back.
Don't fuck with me. From there, we'll move into DC comic news, and this is one of those weeks where I've actually got more DC comic news than Marvel. It's a rare week. First off, DC owns the rights to the Batmobile.
Okay.
They do?
There was a lawsuit between DC and a California man. The man was selling replicas of the 1960s TV and 1989 Batmobiles. And
we talked about this.
Not exactly, because DC sued him over copyright issues, and the man challenged it, stating that a car cannot necessarily be copywritten. DC challenged that on the notion that that the Batmobile is so iconic it could be considered a created automotive character in their books. And the two sides couldn't come to an agreement monetarily, so it was left up to a judge. According to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, they ruled that the Batmobile is a distinct element of the classic TV show and movie rather than a useful article or utilitarian rather than artistic object. That means that DC retains a copyright to the unique likeness of the Batmobile, barring unauthorized replication or unlicensed use. So I can't argue that. You know, as much as I make fun of Batman in DC Comics, the Batmobile is one of those things where if you say that name, it brings up a specific picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, maybe not a specific picture, but definitely it's iconic.
Yeah. Well, I mean
there's
when
been multiple Batmobiles, so...
Well, you can say all kinds of mobiles and it doesn't mean as much. When you say Dogmobile, that could be one of a number of different things. When you say you're going after the ice cream truck, that's a number of different things. When you say you're looking at the Batmobile, all of a sudden that narrows down to one of like maybe 12 distinct objects. And that's probably the argument that DC used to win this, because it is that distinct. There have been different versions of it throughout the 7 decades, but still, when you say Batmobile, you know what that is.
Right.
So all I can say is the guy that's been making these unauthorized things probably owes DC a ton of money pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because now that they've ruled that they own the license, now it's time to talk dollar signs.
Or they should just hire him and make him...
Yeah.
They probably would, except they're already working on their unfunny movies. Speaking of comic books and effects on TV, though, DC is rushing an essential volume of Supergirl onto shelves to try and beat the debut of the TV show. They had a rush solicit for DC Essential Supergirl #1. It's a reprint of the New 52 Supergirl #1 from 2011. for publication on October 21st. It's just $1. Retailers only have until September 20. Yeah, it's a reprint of the post-Flashpoint new Supergirl. And retailers only have until September 28th to place orders. It's kind of interesting that they've gone this route because the story also notes that there is no Supergirl TV, comic book series right now. This TV show is coming out, so they have an opportunity to sell new books, and they're not writing any stories, nor do they apparently have plans to write any stories starring Supergirl.
It's unusual.
Huh.
Yeah, even the series that she has been co-starring in, Justice League United, is being canceled. So,
well, they keep saying that, they keep saying that they don't want their movie / TV show / comic books to be associated with each other, so that may be the reason.
It's not a matter of association, it's just a matter of cross-promotion. One sells the next. Even when they're not associated, like the original Supergirl movie, it did sell comic books.
No, I agree, but I'm thinking it may have to do with them not wanting to cross-promote.
Nah. It just seems like a missed opportunity.
I don't agree, but, that could be their reasoning.
Well, Dick Grayson is back in Gotham. It's official as of Gotham 12 that came out just today. Dick Grayson has gone back home to Gotham to reestablish himself because it turns out, and I forgot about this, the Batman was his connection to his prior life. He was the one who held Dick Grayson in that deep cover in that spy ring. Mm-hmm. Since he lost his memory, he stopped communicating, so Dick Grayson went back home to talk to people and find out what's going on, and he reconnected with Alfred and Damian Wayne. The weird part is, because of Bruce Wayne's memory loss, they put Dick Grayson in disguise to reintroduce him to Bruce Wayne. Probably to keep his cover intact. That's got to be frustrating when your mentor has no idea who you are.
Yeah.
They have said, though, that they're setting up a new buddy comic upcoming. It's part of the story of Dick Grayson's return to Gotham. It turns out he's going to be teaming up on a semi-regular basis with the depowered Superman.
Okay.
I thought about that, and I thought, first of all, that's an interesting buddy book. The guy who's a little bit strong remembers being a powerhouse with the guy who remembers being Batman for a short amount of time. And then I thought about it a little more. Wait, who better to teach Superman how to fight as a person?
Yeah. And honestly, depowering Superman so that he learns how to fight and then giving him his powers back could actually make it, I don't know, at least a little more believable instead of this whole, I know Kryptonian martial arts. Fuck you guys.
Really? They went with that?
This turn in Superman...
They have done that.
They created this whole fighting style that doesn't exist. Yeah. I like this concept of Superman. It's the most relatable I've ever seen him because now he has to figure out how to be a Superman instead of Space Jesus. And it's not like he's given up on superheroics. He's still trying, at least.
Right.
A lot of other characters, when they lose one of their powers, they give the frack up. It's happened to X-Men, it's happened to Avengers. He lost all of them, and he's still fucking fighting. That says something.
Yeah, I can't remember. Somebody ended up doing a meme, where it's just like, Superman's like, oh, sorry, guys, I got red kryptonite, and I couldn't do anything. And Batman's like, I don't have powers, and I still did this. And somebody else was like, yeah, I don't, and I still did this, and everything. He's just like, screw you guys. it has been kind of the case when Superman loses his powers. He's, I don't know if he doesn't try, but it's definitely,
he
but it's
whines
always
like
been
a
so
man
short
that's
term
sick.
now. Yeah, well, and now this is kind of like an extension of that, where he's actually going ahead and being useful,
doing something. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't
in this
help
case,
that
he has no.
doesn't have a secret identity to fall back to.
And he doesn't even have as much support anymore. I mean, with Bruce Wayne out of the picture, there's nobody to watch his back like there usually is.
Yeah.
Now, we talked last week about several series that DC was canceling. Apparently, Fan Outcry brought one back. The Omega Men last week was one of the series that was announced as canceled with December. And due to Fan Outcry, DC co-publisher Jim Lee told Twitter that the series was getting a second chance because of Fan Outcry.
Oh, nice.
So the series is going back to its original. Yeah, the series is going back to its original run of 12 issues instead of being cut in half. There was no mention of the other series that were on the chopping block, and those were Lobo, Justice League United, Gotham by Midnight, Green Lantern Lost Army, Doomed, Batman 66, and Sensation Comics featuring Wonder Woman. However, there is a series that's still on DC's slate that mystifies me, because there has been the series of Justice League 3001, which is one of those stories of the far-flung future of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they have this book doesn't confuse me too much. I mean, if you put a Justice League on it, a lot of people will buy it just in hopes of making money. What does confuse me is that it was recently announced that the Justice League 3001 pretty soon will be shifting to an all-female character book.
Okay.
It'll be a mix of characters that are fan favorites like Supergirl and a female Flash, and they're introducing other characters that will make up a all-female Justice League book. We've discussed before that
Didn't
while
they
I have
try
no
that
issue
with,
with
Birds of Prey and stuff like that, didn't really work out so well.
I was about to say, I have no problem with female-led books as long as they're well-written. If you're just going to throw together a female-led book simply to say, look, we have a female-led book, don't do that. Worry about writing good characters before you worry about slapping together something for cheap sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's failed recently in a couple different respects on both sides of the aisle. Like Steve mentioned, Birds of Prey, all-female book with the exception of Hawk, did not go well. It's gone. Marvel tried their all-female X-Men book. Did not go well. Yep. It's gone. Marvel's taking another stab at it with A-Force, which may give them a little more flexibility than just X-Men characters. If it's written well, I don't care. This Justice League 3001, if it's written well, I don't care. If you're doing it just to say, look, tits, stop, please. Yeah. I'm sorry, I got in a soapbox there.
No, I think you're right.
No.
And last up in DC comic news, there's a new comic book they plan on putting out called Superhero Society, which is a little different because it's going to star Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Okay.
At about the ages of 10 years old.
Okay.
It's being done by Dustin Nguyen and Derek Friedholz. It's a 3 illustrated novels to be published by Scholastic Books. They're reimagining the main DC Trinity as middle school kids enrolled in a prep school called Ducard Academy.
And they're going to something like this.
The 3 characters are going to strike up a friendship. Think of it as like a New Age Hardy Boys. They're going to solve crimes not with superpowers, but just as kid detectives. It's a new way to reintroduce these characters to a younger group of readers via a children's book.
Gotcha. Well, I'm actually kind of intrigued by that, especially if they can somewhat keep their adult characteristics, Superman being, or Clark Kent, since he's, probably not Superman yet.
Well, it gets better.
Being kind of the do-gooder type person, Batman being this smart alecky know-it-all, and Diana being probably the more physical out of all of them.
It gets better because, according to the solicits, it's being written that the farm boy Clark Kent, the regal Diana Prince, and the outsider Bruce Wayne strike up a friendship. According to the writer, quote, I don't know what it's like to shoot lasers from my eyes, fly an invisible jet, or dress like a bat. But I remember my years in school fondly and tried to tap into that. And, when in doubt, it doesn't hurt to write in ninjas or have class clowns throwing pies, unquote.
Yeah, I'm for this. I think this could be really good.
I would actually buy this for my middle child. He's really getting into reading like nerdy stuff. He's turning into a Pokemon like geek. Check out the cover of this book because it is so unlike anything else DC would put out regarding these characters, and it's cute. I especially like their designs on Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince. They're fun.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
Without the tiara, but with the head scarf, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of confidence. He still looks very angsty.
Actually, she looks very happy to meet whoever that is at the camera side, and Bruce Wayne's just looking at you going, did you shoot my parents?
It's fault right here.
The series is going to debut in February of next year. The second volume is due out in 2017. Additional heroes such as Arthur Curry, a.k.a. Aquaman, and Victor Stone, a.k.a. Cyborg, will be added in the second volume.
Is it bad that I immediately thought of Aquaman as a young person and I just see him kind of like a fish out of water flopping on the ground?
I was actually having this picture of the goofy kid with bad teeth walking around with like a goldfish in a bag. But either way, I like this concept. I'm in on this. I'm very in on this. We'll tune into General Comic and... I'm sorry?
I said I'm normally not into like the whole "this is us as teenagers" thing, but this does actually seem pretty cute.
We'll move from there into general comic and convention news. We talk about the comic news is not Marvel and DC related, as well as news about conventions across the world. I actually don't have any news about comic books, but I do have two pieces about conventions. First up, regarding TF Nation, that is the convention that took over since Auto Assembly closed as of this year. It's been announced that they've recently signed Paul Eiding to appear at the convention. Paul Eiding, he's the guy who played Grandpa Max in Ben 10. He's played Perceptor in the first generation of Transformers cartoons and Colonel Campbell in the Metal Gear Solid games. He will be appearing at the Hilton Birmingham Metropole Hotel during the convention from Friday the 19th to Sunday the 21st in August of 2016. So if you're interested in signing up and going to a con in England, you can sign up at the TF Nation homepage. And the only other piece I have, holy shit, it's no secret that when BlizzCon is announced every year in Southern California, it's a horse race to get tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And those tickets run about $200 for a 3-day convention. But one thing that we won't know until near the convention date, which is coming soon, I believe it's actually, I think it's early next month. Okay, I was wrong. It's November 6th to 7th, so it's $200, basically $100 per day at BlizzCon. But it's been recently announced what the exclusives are for people who get to attend BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm.
The World of Warcraft exclusive is a battle pet called a Murkadun. It's a Murloc styled after the Warcraft villain Illidan.
I'm looking at it right now.
The pet has
Murloc Illidan.
Yeah,
Okay.
The pet has a range of demonic abilities as disposable. In regards to Heroes of the Storm, players will get access to a new Nexus Battle Beast mount. It looks like Kodo from World of Warcraft, but with a futuristic twist and a Tron-like color scheme.
Yeah.
And Diablo 3 players get 3 exclusive items. A Merc Goblin, an undead Murloc that will follow you on your journey, and a matching portrait border. The Blizzard Pennant. Oh, and the portrait border. So those are the 3.
Right.
And then when it comes to Legacy of the Void, you can get 2 themed portraits for StarCraft 2 and an icy card back for Hearthstone. That's a lot of stuff for players. I mean, I guess if you're a Blizzard fiend, this is perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I have not played any of these games. I would just like to go and see the hype. I would like to see what it's about and see what kind of con it is. Now we have anime and Japan news. We talk about the news that comes from across the Pacific Ocean, whether it be animated, comic books, sociological, gastronomical, sometimes sexual. First up is the trailer for a series that is a throwback and a sequel. Digimon Adventure Try.
Ah, yeah, I heard about that. It's coming out soon, actually.
November 21st is when the first OVA is supposed to land. This is kind of a strange situation because this series is not just a sequel to the Digimon Adventures, but it is a recall in that it continues the adventures of the first 8 kids in the Digimon series.
Yep.
So I went ahead and sent that video. Toei animation. I recognize that voice, but I couldn't say who that is.
Probably the voice of Tai?
Oh, no, the voice actor, I mean.
Oh.
That is weird looking at them that much older. It makes me wonder how old I am exactly.
Killer.
What? At least they're not elementary schoolers anymore. That's an ugly bug. go, Pikachu! I mean, what?
Dude, he's yellow. Why is he yellow?
The little Tyrannosaurus thing?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a kind of a complicated item about how they evolve. It's this little digital creature that lived in this Tamagotchi-like item, and they ended up in the digital world. It requires a certain power or permission from the user to evolve into a much larger form. I forget the details, honestly.
I always hated Mimi, so anytime I see her, I rage.
Is that what that sound was? I thought it was gas.
No, that was me with a mouthful of ice cream sandwich going, "Kill her!"
Well, there was a story on Kotaku about the biggest game in Japan you may have never heard of. Grand Blue Fantasy. Granblue Fantasy.
Indeed.
I have heard of that.
It's a free-to-play PC and mobile game. It has music by former Final Fantasy composer Nobuo Uematsu. It has art from former Square Enix art and graphics designer Hideo Minaba. No wonder this game took off.
Yeah.
They had a booth at the Tokyo Game Show that was the same size as Sony's. I shit you not.
Pair?
Huh?
As a pair?
As a pair of what?
As two individuals, a pair of people.
A pair of people?
What?
You said they had a booth.
As big as Sony's.
Right. So as a pair, they had a booth as big as Sony's.
No, the game, Grand Blue Fantasy, had a booth as big as Sony's.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Their booth actually at the Tokyo Game Show was physically as large as Sony's, with Sega Games stuck in between the two, probably wondering what happened to their company.
Nintendo owns you now.
Well, the booth was so large, it even had a replica airship for people to stand in and have photos taken.
Wow.
I doubt it's at full scale. It looks like it may be half scale, but still big enough for people to actually climb into. The players in this game are supposed to take on the role of a young protagonist who, through turn of events, rescues and must travel with a young girl with a connection to an ancient, powerful, long-lost race. That's basically every Final Fantasy fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
But along with various other characters, they fly the airship from the Grand Cipher from island to island, avoiding the pursuing wrath of an evil empire. Wow.
Yeah. Sounds like Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a free-to-play mobile and PC game. There's got to be some money in it. There's probably something you got to purchase, though. Free-to-play is never free-to-play. But it's available in Japanese for iOS and Android platforms. You can also play it on PC if you use Google Chrome. And last up in Anime in Japan news is something a little more domestic. Anime Jungle is a retailer out here in Southern California. They are having a special free concert as of October 13th of this year at 7 p.m. That's a Wednesday. If you show up, and assuming they still have space, you could see a live mini concert and talk show starring Lady Baby.
Who?
Yeah. Who?
Lady Baby is one of those idol death metal fusion bands, similar in the vein of Baby Metal. However, Lady Baby stars something we talked about recently. One of the central figures of this three-part band, two of them are young schoolgirls. The third is a tall man who likes to dress in women's outfits. He's known affectionately in pro wrestling and cosplay circles as Lady Beard.
Oh, that guy.
That guy. It is official. They are coming from Japan to the U.S. to play a concert in an anime shop. I have an example of their music if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, why not?
Jessie is interested and curious. V is just hoping she doesn't die, apparently. I sent the video.
And I'm hoping this doesn't scar me horribly.
I make no guarantees. It's loud.
Whoa!
I warned you. He's got a nice voice for metal, but the pigtails are throwing me a bit. It's supposed to be a video about pop culture and commercialism in Japan. What do you think people are thinking as this guy's swinging around with a selfie stick? Some of them look bemused, and too many are just walking by going, well, that's Japan in a nutshell. See ya!
It's like, when the two girls come up and I'm listening to them do the songs, like, I'm getting this weird juxtaposition. I was like, this is fucking metal?
How about this? The hook with the three of them dancing. Opinions?
Maybe they could get
I'm amused.
Get to talk to Kiss.
I have to give the guy mad props for being able to dance, but yeah, not my style of music.
There's actually 3 such fusion bands. Apparently this is the 3rd one to come out. Baby Metal was the first, and I think the second one is called Baby Baby, if I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that. I'm positive Lady Baby's the 3rd such.
This is interesting. I'm laughing my ass off at the same time. This thoroughly annoys me.
Well, you know what, though? I can guarantee you that Lady Beard would probably be the first idol to go to one of those handshaking events and will not end up with semen on his hands.
Yeah.
He would kill that. Doesn't look like it's a formally produced video. It looks like something they did themselves as a tester. I still just love the background while he's walking around in that maid outfit. There's so many people just staring, wondering if they've been punked or something.
Whoa.
This almost
what the hell
seems like
happened?
I don't know. This almost seems like some kind of bizarre cross between Hank Venture's band and Metalocalypse.
Oh.
Dude using glow sticks as nunchucks is kind of amusing.
That's a raver thing. They do need to coach the girls to be a little more exuberant, because sometimes you can almost see that expression cross their face where I'm making a music video with an old guy who wears my dress better than I do.
It has just hair just as long.
Yeah. There's something somewhat amazing about this, but also slightly horrifying, and I get the feeling that's what it's supposed to produce emotionally.
I know.
You gotta hand it to Lady Beard.
Some grunts and everything in the background.
I know. I gotta hand it to Lady Beard for a guy who's, as a cross-dresser, managed to cross into Japan as pop culture on top of being a foreigner. That's a strong statement. This is a country that does not treat foreigners very well in general. I didn't expect to get through the whole video, but that...
Yeah.
It's just one of those weird items. When it came up, I just had to share it because we're just like, Lady Baby's coming, huh? What's a Lady Baby? What the hell?
Change the rules, smash the boundaries.
You know, if it wasn't a Wednesday, I would probably go out and check it out. However, I would only have about 2 hours to cross Los Angeles during rush hour, and if you live in Los Angeles, you know that ain't happening.
Mm.
From there, we'll move into nerd interest news. We talk about technological and sociological innovations that don't have to do with entertainment. Supposedly, there's a cyanobacteria that can be the secret to terraforming Mars. The problem is plants have a tough time growing on Mars. There's a serious lack of bacteria that can aid planting growth, let alone what we understand about our own planets versus Martian atmosphere. There's a paper led by an astrobiologist named Lynn Rothschild of NASA's Ames Research Institute that argues we can harness photosynthesis machines to produce a lot of the resources we'll need to survive, from food to oxygen to metals and medicine. This cyanobacteria can help. It helps extract elements as well as filling our bellies. It's a form of protein. It can be a little tricky, though, because Mars, because of its distance, only gets about 44% of the sunlight that Earth does. So crops will need to be energy efficient as well. And the cyanobacteria can not just help produce plants and giving us air to breathe, it can also be used to fuel rovers. It produces nitrogen that can be converted into a fuel.
So it's the Wonder Plant.
Yeah, it's a bacteria, but yeah.
Well, okay, Wonder Bacteria.
Yeah. It can change the face of what we can do out there. However, there's still some logistical problems. I mean, most of the movies we produce on the idea they always show Mars as this place that, just given an atmosphere, it could be just like Earth. But keep forgetting it'll be consistently cooler out there.
Yep.
Also, V, there is a picture that you would probably want to see.
Oh?
Yeah, New Horizons took a picture before it was leaving Pluto's airspace. And the picture it produced is what a sunset would look like on the farthest planet in the solar system.
Pictures?
A single one, but it's a horizon shot. And as far as sunsets go, it's an interesting picture. There you go.
Oh.
Jesse, if you take a look on the right side of the picture, I think you can see where the Dreadnought is in orbit. We need to go there next.
That's gorgeous.
What is this?
Pluto.
Saturn? Pluto.
Oh. The furthest planet in the system. We finally have some coherent pictures of it.
It's black and white, but still.
Well, data takes a while to get back.
Yeah.
We may also have the new fundamentals of a new form of computing in production.
Okay.
We know what electrons are, right?
Yes.
Electrons have been theorized to be what's holding back neo-modern computing, because they're fast, but they're not fast enough to send information as people would like. There's a team that's developed the first ever light-based memory chip that can permanently store data.
Interesting.
So instead of using electrons as the transmission of data, it uses light itself. Supposedly, the chips will be able to run on photons, not electrons.
Right.
The memory and processor operating with light rather than electricity. Researchers have been trying to do that. An international team of researchers have finally cracked at least part of the problem. They've created the world's first light-based memory chip.
Nice.
We have photonic memory.
That's pretty impressive.
So
Next up, the positronic brain.
I was
the
gonna go
positronic brain, yeah. There's a scan of an electron microscope looking at the device, and it is so innocuous it makes you wonder what computers could look like in the near future. I take it you want to see that too?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
And remember, electron microscopes can see very small, very fine objects. So it makes me extremely curious what the future of computers will look like.
So that gold band would be
the memory chip
storage? Wow.
Yes.
Have they said how much that would contain?
Not specifically, because they've only just cracked the format to make it able to read and collect memory. I don't think they've really determined what its max capacity is as of yet. Think about what computers used to be. I mean, it used to be 256K of memory required this tremendous bookshelf-like item.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was back
And
when I was still storing things on film and whatnot, but...
Yeah, but that was the first. I mean, this is the first light-based memory at that size.
Yeah, no, but that's just what I was curious. I mean, obviously, at that size, even if you chain them all together, you're going to have, probably a pretty good amount of space, but I was just wondering about the individual.
Yeah, it really wasn't determined because they were so excited at the prospect of light-based memory in general.
I can't blame them for that.
Yeah. There's a new company called Megabots. The founder and CEO, Jui Calavanti, says that their goal as a company is to start a sports league that has a huge live audience at every single match of giant robot fights.
I'm sold.
I'm down with this.
Depends on how close it is.
How giant? Do you remember the thing that was sitting outside the Walking Dead the Walker Stalker Fan Fest at Comic-Con? That's one of the things they example.
Damn.
There's still a couple problems with logistics. They do have an arena where they're testing out certain fights right now. And there was a gash made in one of the steel beams that holds together the arena that was made a little too easily by one of the robots. It was at least an inch deep and several inches long, cutting into the steel as if it were butter.
Fuck.
I like the fact that the article on Gizmodo was very careful to say, these days the amount of risk to the audience is much less than it used to be. And I look at that and just go, okay, unless Colossus is sitting in front of me, fuck to you. And unfortunately, there have been a lot of very big wildfires in California between the drought and the unusually warm temperatures this year.
Oh, yeah.
And it claimed a very serious casualty that will matter to tech nerds of a different generation. The Telephone History Museum was destroyed in the wildfire.
Ooh.
The JKL Museum of Telephony was dedicated to preserving the history of phones. It was destroyed last week. It was in San Andreas. And unfortunately, it was overcome by the Butte fire. To say that all that's left is a husk is putting it lightly. I can give you guys an image of what it used to look like pre-damage. And then you'll understand why I held on to this particular story, because it made me physically sad. Because, I mean, everybody has a cell phone nowadays, but not a lot of people have the physical memory of what it was like to hold a receiver in your hands.
Right. Yeah.
I'm resistant and use the rotodials.
Yeah. I love the rotodials.
There's also prototype like VidPhones you can see there that were part of the losses.
Damn.
Signs, wall-mounted phones, pay phones.
There's a lot of burnt plastic.
Should be a TARDIS in there.
A lot of that stuff's going to be very hard to replace.
Yeah.
Do you see the bookshelf in the center on the right side of it? That weird looking VidPhone that seems to have no receiver. I think that was one of the VidPhones used in the original Total Recall film.
Huh.
I think. I saw the film recently and it looked just like that. So that's sad. That's a piece of history that went up. Scotland has an interesting garden that just by the name I would like to go see. It's called the Craywick Multiverse. It was created by a landscape artist named Charles Jenks. He wants to give symbolic physical form to the most abstract physics theories of the universe.
Okay.
And there's a YouTube video attached to it. However, it's like 4 minutes, and I don't know if I want to go into it. I can give you guys an image of what this place looks like. Holy shit, I would sit and stare here. And I don't mean in that, my God, I can't believe I'm here. I mean in that silent, I'm thinking about the universe in all of its forms ways. Take a look at this image. It's incredible looking.
That's pretty. What are the mounds?
I'm not 100% sure. This thing was created... The landscaper said that this is supposed to be a physical representation of some of the most far-out theories of our universe and the multiverse. I imagine that's part of what that sculpture is in the front, because it looks it looks to be multi-layered, but it's still one piece. I think that's supposed to be like multiverse theory. The mounds, I'm not sure what they're supposed to represent, but between that and the weird slate down in front of it, it's really beautiful. You almost expect to see someone crawling across it and then kick open a gourd to find like 3 gems and run into the monster in the next few screens.
Right?
I think those mounds almost might be like burial mounds.
Well, no, it's a landscape art, so I doubt he's that morbid. I'd like to go. There is no way around that. I'd like to go and take a look. Disney Files. Who here is a Disney File?
I like Disney, not Disney File.
Like Disney.
Okay, Disneyland and the Disney parks have been going through the Diamond Celebration. It's their 60th year anniversary this year.
Mm-hmm.
They finally set an end date. and that is it'll end next year on September 3rd.
Oh.
September 5th, sorry. So the Diamond Celebration will actually be going on during the New Year's trip we have planned this year.
Cool.
Which is interesting in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But they apparently have already found uses for the Diamond Celebration stuff that they come up with, that they plan to use it after the end of the celebration.
Really?
Yeah, the Diamond Celebration apparently relies heavily on laser mapping, high-definition projectors, LED lights, and infrared technology to wow park visitors. The development of these attractions began 18 months before the celebration began, which would put it about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They'll use laser mapping to project images of classic animations on buildings around the park during the nighttime fireworks show. They call it the Paint the Night Parade. It was upgraded with 1.5 million LED lights attached to floats and dancers.
Wow.
The world of
that's gonna look fun. I was actually at the Anaheim at Anaheim next to Disneyland that we're gonna go to at EQLA, and I heard a sample of what happens there.
Well, not only that, there's also talk that part of the reason why Disney may be looking to repurpose these things is because they want to use this technology, which is admittedly not next generation, but probably close to bleeding edge. They want to repurpose it for the new Star Wars land they have projected, and possibly a new Marvel attraction.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So all of a sudden, this New Year's trip took on a whole different dimension when I read that a couple days ago. But that's not the only Disney news I have. There's something they are doing that they're going to end soon. However, even I am one of those people that, as somebody who likes different experiences, I don't know if I'd pay $300 for this. For $300, you can have a Jungle Cruise Sunrise Safari breakfast. Before the park officially opens, people who pay for this $300 ticket, and this is happening up until December 2nd of this year, will be let into the park between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. before the ropes officially drop at 9 a.m. to sit in private cars in the Jungle Boat cruise, which is an attraction at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're on that boat, they will serve you eggs, bacon, sausage, toast, and pancakes while you go through the ride.
Yeah, I would not.
Interesting, but yeah, $300. Yeah.
Well, maybe this will change your mind on whether or not you're on the fence. That doesn't include a ticket to Disneyland. You still have to pay another $100 to get in after they drop the ropes.
Right.
I bet that changes your mind.
You're about to say if this does include a ticket to Disneyland, then that would be
then that would somewhat help offset the costs there. But yeah, that's some damned expensive eggs.
Yeah. You know, I'm one of those economical people. So $300 would be enough if you had the breakfast and a ticket to Disneyland and maybe some early morning access to a limited number of rides. You wouldn't have to open the whole goddamn park, but maybe open like 2 or 3 feature items for people to do before everybody else gets in.
Yeah.
You know, like certain days you have Splash Mountain and maybe like Star Tours open, and then other days is Big Thunder Mountain.
Well, Star Tours doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it does. They were planning on expanding it as part of the Star Wars land. They weren't planning on closing it. What were you thinking Star Tours was?
Star Tours, yeah. I thought they'd already closed it.
Oh, no. I was there during... I was there last year, and it was open. It just had some technical difficulty, so it opened on and off.
Okay.
This was an interesting statistic. Selfies can kill you. So far this year, 12 people... Yeah, here's the weird part. So far in 2015, there have been 12 noted cases where people have lost their lives to selfies. Not a lot, by any stretch of the imagination, for any sort of statistic, except for one. Selfies this year have killed more people than sharks.
Okay.
There have been 12 selfie-related deaths this year. There have only been 8 related shark deaths.
But was one of those selfie deaths with a shark?
I seriously doubt it. There might have been a picture of a shark taking a selfie while eating one of those 6 people. I mean, or 8 people. That's always possible, right? 4 of the deaths via selfie were via falls. There was one guy who just recently was on a trip to India. He was taking a selfie with a friend in front of the Taj Mahal. He misguessed where the stairs were behind him.
Oh.
Tumbled down the stairs with serious head injuries, was taken to a hospital, was in a medically induced coma, and never came out. He was taking a picture with a friend.
Situational awareness. Yes.
Yeah. It's gotten so bad in Russia, kids have been electrocuted while trying to take selfies on top of train cars. The government there launched a public service campaign to warn people about locations it might not be that smart to take a photo. That campaign actually had to include words like on top of houses, next to oncoming trains, and in the company of wild animals. The fuck? What? There are certain words there that don't...
Have you seen some of the memes that Russia puts out?
I have seen some of the memes, and I look at those and think, fuck you, I'm not doing it.
I don't know. I did kind of think the ones where they were jumping off the tops of houses into the snowbanks and off of like apartment buildings looked kind of cool. No way in hell I would ever do it with my fear of heights, but, you know.
Those weren't selfies. Those were Russian kids pretending they knew what Jackass was. You know, the ones that really freak me out are the people that take selfies on top of buildings and like construction cranes and shit. So, I don't get it myself. Last up in nerd interest news, I have a list from IO9 and Rob Bricken. He calls it the 19 worst movies Mystery Science Theater 3000 ever riffed.
So the worst movies ever?
Yeah.
The worst movies they've riffed. The worst movies they've ever addressed. Not to say that their shows weren't funny, but just the fact that these are some shit movies. Oh God, did they pick some... I don't know if I want to go through all 19 because that's a lot of reading, and again, I'm coughing every now and again. How about we just do the 10?
Okay.
The top 10 of this list?
Sure.
Actually, 10 and 11 were a tie. The Castle of Fu Manchu and the Invasion of the Neptune Men. Quote, a 60s movie about an evil Chinese mastermind, regrettably played by Christopher Lee in what is now termed Yellowface, and a 50s black and white movie from Japan about alien invaders taking over the planet. They sound different, but they're shockingly similar in that they're both completely incomprehensible. Things happen in these films. Actions clearly occur on screen, and yet somehow the plots remain unknowable and excruciatingly dull. They are not movies so much as they are visual punishments, unquote.
That's not a glowing review.
That's fucking harsh. Item number 9, The Creeping Tower. Quote, The Creeping Terror. Quote, The Creeping Terror is a movie in only the most technical sense. Things have been filmed, and that film has been stuck together to produce what is generally termed a motion picture. But that's it. The people in the film are certainly not actors. The monster in the film is basically a bunch of guys under a large carpet whose victims have to actually crawl into the creature's mouth to be devoured. Also, the soundtrack for the film was either lost or never made. Every single line is dubbed poorly, and most of the film is narrated because otherwise no one could possibly tell what was supposed to be happening. Imagine if Ed Wood had less talent and a smaller budget, and then you have a sense of what the creeping terror is, unquote.
Wow.
Fuck. You know what, oddly, I've seen number 8 on this list via Mystery Science Theater. The Wild, Wild World of Batwoman.
What?
Okay, I have not
Quote,
seen that one.
Quote, this has nothing to do with the DC Comics stable of Bat characters, although the Batwoman of the title does fight crime with the help of her scantily clad Batgirls, who are all apparently cast straight from the local strip club. There was some sort of business about an atomic hearing aid that can listen to anything anywhere and an evil person named Ratfink who wants it. But the movie also has portions of another film, The Mole People, haphazardly added to it, so it hardly matters. The movie is mainly interested in ogling its female cast and being painfully unfunny. Tom Servo sums it up best when he stopped making jokes and starts screaming, "End! End!" at the screen, unquote. Number 7 on the list, I've not seen. The Beast of Yucca Flat. Anybody?
Nope.
Nope.
Quote, the fact that professional wrestler and Ed Wood mainstay Tor Johnson plays a brilliant Russian scientist in this movie is only the first sign that something is wrong. This Coleman Francis movie about how Tor turns into a very large, very slow killer after an off-screen nuclear blast is nothing but bleak. People on bleak landscapes doing bleak things. Like The Creeping Terror, no sound was recorded during filming. Francis' solution was twofold. One, to film literally no one talking, so that every single person in the movie is forced to speak off screen. And two, personally narrate the film, which resulted in a stream of consciousness nonsense that sounds like True Detective run through a clinically depressed Google translator. Best non sequitur? Flag on the moon. How'd it get there? Unquote. Item number 6, according to Rob Bricken and IO9, of the worst movies that Mystery Science Theater has ever made fun of. Okay, so number 6 on this list is Attack of the Eye Creatures. Yes. That's the way it's written. Attack of the Eye Creatures. Quote, in certain respects, this movie is much more professional than many of the movies on this list. There is a simple but coherent plot. Many of the actors are serviceable, and it's edited in a reasonable way. However, there is no movie on this list whose director gave less of a shit about it. The best eye creatures have monster suits with their zippers clearly visible in the back. The other eye creatures wear masks, along with slacks and loafers. The best example has to be
nothing's more frightening than loafers.
Hey, right? You've seen This Island Earth. You know how true that is. The best example has to be the title, in which no one cared to proofread the 6-word title duplicating the. However, it's the two perverted army guys that really make Attack of the Eye Creatures. They spend the movie leering using army resources looking for teens having sex. They are gross and slimy, and you will need to take a shower after watching this film, unquote. That sounds like every other 70s drive-in movie there was. Item number 5 on the list I'm aware of by title, but I don't think I've seen. Hobgoblins.
Yeah, not heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't know nothing about it.
Quote, much like Attack of the Eye Creatures, Hobgoblins is a cogent film with an actual beginning, middle, and end. It's kind of like Gremlins, except the Hobgoblins make wishes come true and that inevitably have foreseen monkey paw-style consequences. In fact, given that the monsters are reasonably made puppets, Hobgoblins is sadly one of the most professionally made films on the list. What makes it unwatchable is that basically the entire cast are as sleazy as Attack of the Eye Creatures sleazy army dudes. The cast of college kids who set the Hobgoblins loose are all obsessed with sex in that gross 80s way, where all the girls are either sluts or virgins who secretly want to be sluts. Again, like Attack of the Eye Creatures, you will need to take a shower after watching this film. The difference is that after Hobgoblins, no amount of showering will make you feel clean, unquote.
Wow.
Eye bleach and brain bleach.
This makes you want to go to Vimeo and start buying like season passes to Mystery Science Theater, because I have a feeling there's a lot I need to see. However, item number 4 on this list from IO9 and Rob Bricken of the 19 worst movies Mystery Science Theater 3000 ever riffed is a movie I'm too familiar with. Monos, The Hands of Fate.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Quote.
That movie's so bad it's not even quotable.
Oh, deeply. Wait till you hear the full review here. Quote, although Monos, The Hands of Fate isn't the worst movie on this list, please, don't think that it isn't awful. Its infamy has made its awfulness more fascinating than it should be, but it is still a film made with a bold ineptitude on all levels. It begins with 15 minutes of a family driving aimlessly before encountering a strange motor lodge staffed by the large-thighed Torgo. It turns out Torgo is a satyr, and his thighs are enormous because of goat thighs, although the movie never once makes this clear. It seems like the sort of movie a fertilizer salesman with delusions of being a filmmaker might create, and it absolutely was. A crappy horror story, inexpertly told, poorly acted, and incompetently assembled. It is a bad movie on every single level, and it's depressing too, not because of the twist ending, but because the failure just pervades the entire movie. As Joel put it, every frame of this movie looks like someone's last known photograph, unquote.
Oh, wow.
Just putting it in words like that makes it sound much more depressing than I ever thought it was. Number 3 is a title I've seen on lists, but I've never seen this one. Probably because the title sounded so bad, even as a kid, I skipped this. The Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stopped Living and Became Mixed Up Zombies.
Wait, what the hell?
That's the title of the movie that was riffed.
Oh my god.
Quote, who could make a movie worse than Monos? Meet Ray Dennis Steckler, who wrote and directed this movie, and most disgustingly was the lead actor under the infuriating pseudonym Cash Flag. Mixed Up Zombie... I shit you not. Mixed Up Zombies is as poorly made as Manos, but 1, it contains a lengthy, leering scene of a strip show at a nightclub. 2, it contains a giant, useless, interminable dance number in the middle. And 3, it often tries to be funny. Imagine if Manos had songs and thought it had a sense of humor, and that's Mixed Up Zombies. It's agony to sit through because not only is it terrible, you hate everyone involved in making it.
Wow.
Steckler went on to sell videotapes of the nude actresses he had auditioned for him, so rest assured, he deserves all the hate you can give him, unquote.
Wow.
That's just fucking bizarre on every way I can think of. Item number 2 on this list, we're coming towards the end. Red Zone Cuba.
Red Zone Cuba?
Red Zone Cuba. Quote, if an alien race ever watches Red Zone Cuba, it will wipe out humanity without hesitation. There may be no movie, which of course was written and directed by Coleman Francis, more devoted to showing humanity at its worst and its most useless, as a group of criminals escape jail and wander around aimlessly, somehow getting stuck in an invasion of Cuba. The reason Red Zone Cuba beats Beast of Yucca Flats is because Francis combined his unbelievable lack of talent and resources with a grandiose vision he could never come close to achieving. Francis wanted to recreate the Bay of Pigs invasion when America attacked Cuba. The result was half a dozen out-of-shape guys running up the same hill over and over and over again, as if that could somehow masquerade as an actual attack by U.S. forces. Kids making movies in their backyard could achieve the same result, if not a little better. Besides that madness, the characters are all unlikable people who do unlikable things for the entirety of the film until they're gunned down by other unlikable people. It's an unlikable film, is what I'm saying, unquote.
I kind of got that.
Yeah, you really rammed that home. The last movie on this list, supposedly the worst movie, according to IO9 and Rob Bricken, that Mystery Science Theater 3000 ever riffed on, I've seen half of. It's called Monster A Go-Go.
Oh, God.
Anybody else seen this?
I believe I have seen it, yes.
Okay. Strap in, because this took 2 paragraphs. The guy had so much hate for this. Quote, there is no Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie more unwatchable than Monster A Go-Go. Period. It is a non-movie. Like the Beast of Yucca Flats in The Creeping Terror, it has no sound, and a strange narrator appears to be making things up as the movie goes along. Like the Coleman Francis films, there was no budget or skill. Like Castle of Fu Manchu and Invasion of the Neptune Men, the story never ever comes close to making sense. Like Manos, it appears to have been made by someone who had only heard about movies secondhand. This story is about an astronaut who returns to Earth and who may be a monster of some unknown sort, but even that gives the film too much credit. You have to watch the movie several times just to even pick up that information, because there are no characters, no events, no story being told. In fact, there is no monster. At the end of the film, after we've actually been shown random scenes of a tall dude walking around in pitiful zombie makeup for a bit, who you'd have to presume is the astronaut turned monster, the narrator suddenly announces there was no monster. Yes, it turns out that you've been watching a bunch of people looking for a monster that doesn't exist. Although the movie has shown you this monster. Monster A Go-Go negates its own existence in his final scene, as if the wretchedness you just sat through wasn't punishment enough. Comparatively, Manos is a masterpiece compared to the unwatchable nightmare paradox that is Monster A Go-Go, unquote.
Wow. Okay, no, I had not seen this one.
I'm sure you'd remember. Well, actually, you probably never remember if you've seen this film because your brain immediately shut down and said, fuck it, we're done. You know, that's the moment where your brain climbs out of your ear and says, you're a fucking idiot, and leaves. You know, and I don't think I'm positive I've never sat through Monster A Go-Go, but the description is so horrendous. Dare I even try?
Yeah.
Because if I have a feeling if I watch this film, the part of me that is half black will leave and say, fuck it, Whitey, you're on your own. Holy shit. And last up we have our What the Fuck corner. Those stories from across the internet that just make you ask, the blue fuck. And I don't have any video game glitches this week.
Aww.
Not a one.
They've been behaving.
Oh, no, it's not that they've been behaving. I just haven't seen a decent set. However, I have 2 epic plays. Would you like to see a couple of epic plays?
Sure.
Those are good.
Okay, the first one is by a name we should be familiar with by now, Black Smoke Billy.
Okay.
You guys remember that name?
No. Oh, yes.
This is the guy whose video we saw. He did a backflip in a truck over an overpass in Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, right.
He decided to come up with another... He came up with another truck trick that involved C4 and a trailer. Now, to give you a little bit of a concept about this, Billy released this video, and he used an invincibility mod, a nuke mod with less range to keep the target from lagging, and changed the weight of the trailer to 10 grams to pull off this trick. Would you like to see what he did?
Yeah.
Sure.
I know, you're asking what kind of trick involves a trailer, C4, and lowering the weight? Well, I sent the video. Check it out for yourself. And there's Billy in his semi. He busts the window and tosses C4 in front of the truck. You can see it falling in slow motion there?
Yeah.
Lands right in the middle. It's a good toss. Okay, and he rolls over it with the truck. He's released the trailer. And it flies over the sign and reconnects.
Wow.
He caught the trailer.
I wonder how many times he had to do that before that worked.
I don't know.
Probably a lot.
Here's this time he did it. Boom! Overpass. Full flip. Caught the trailer. Just wonder how much time he had in his hands. Oh, by the way, we don't like this trailer, so we're going to get rid of it. There it goes. Clean over the overpass.
Blew up a cop car.
Caught the trailer.
And that was
You can
even
hear
taller.
Oh, you'll hear sirens in the background. That guy's pissed. Try this one. You see that industrial building?
Uh-huh.
Flies over the building. Rebounds off the warehouse. Lands, rolls, and nothing but trailer.
That's amazing. I don't.
That takes me back to the old Halo.
The Invincible Warthog.
Yeah, just doing all those tricks for that.
Well, the other epic play I have is by a player from the U.S. team of Counter-Strike Esports, known as NVUS. They have a player named Happy, who in the middle of a tournament created an unbelievable feat.
Okay.
He pulled off an ace. Do you know what an ace is in Counter-Strike?
Eliminate everyone on the other team?
Yes, it's a 5-on-5 squad, and an ace is you eliminating the entirety of the 5-man squad that you're up against.
Ah, okay.
And he did it with one of the weakest weapons in the game, the Desert Eagle. The Desert Eagle has a horrible fire rate, not very good as far as aiming, and he managed to kill the entire team, over half of which he did through a smoke screen.
Wow.
Okay.
He killed the entirety of the opposing team, TSM, who was in the middle of a force buy round. And his entire team, NVUS, was armed only with pistols. They decided to do the cheap route because they didn't have the cash for good weapons in-game. So that makes it even weirder, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
But it gets okay because, thankfully, the tournament from DreamHack London 2015, they were nice enough to upload part of that round to YouTube. You want to see?
Yes.
Yeah, I sent the vid. So this is from HLTV.org. Happy versus TSM Desert Eagle Ace from DreamHack Open London. Okay, there's Happy, right? He just nailed one before he even saw him. Nailed 2. Through the smoke screen 3.
I don't even see him actually hitting them.
I know. Here's the 4th one. Gunned him down. And that's it. You got all 5. Here's it from the other side. Boom. guy peeked around the corner. Boom, 2. The other guy, see him up there? Boom, 3. I mean, fucking A, man.
Okay. Nailing 5 guys like that, that's impressive. Nailing at least 2 of them through the smoke screen because you know where their heads are supposed to be?
I know. It's amazing. There's been some debate about what Happy did because some people are taking away that TSM had a lack of response to Counter-Strike's animation overhaul, which is a strange excuse. You know, animation overhaul doesn't change gameplay necessarily.
It can.
And they contend that the new animations give people peeking a disadvantage because apparently it's easier to see them coming now.
Okay, that's all fine. Explain the smoke screen.
I know. I mean, you just can't take away the fact that he had a very underpowered weapon versus you could see at least 2 of those guys had rifles, and he took them out before they knew he was there.
Well, the sad part is they, the smoke and everything, they knew he was there. They still couldn't hit anything.
I know. You know, despite what you think about the man, you got to give it up. He pulled off a rare feat. And it's not like he had help. I mean, technically he had a team, but he did all that solo. I mean, for fuck's sake. Now, we go from the unbelievable to the unbelievable. There is a woman in Kansas who claims that she crossed a watermelon with a cherry tomato plant in her backyard to create a new type of fruit.
Well, being as I hate tomatoes, it sounds disgusting, but at the same time, alrighty then.
Well, this story was picked up by a Kansas TV station who sent a news person out to talk about the mystery fruit. You can see it right there. The guy's holding up this strange-looking plant.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the woman in question, her name is Sherry Miller. She contacted her local news station as of yesterday, the 22nd, to alert them about the appearance of a mystery hybrid that appeared in her garden of cherry tomato and watermelon plants. She says that she may call it a hybrid watermato or tomelon. Okay?
Okay.
Now, after the story aired, a couple of horticultural specialists were called onto the show, and they took a look at the plant. And they wanted to know why they'd been called. Because it's an eggplant. What they surmise happened is that it may have been an accidental case of splicing. Splicing is what's known when you take a plant or a seed type from one type of plant and then graft it onto another vine or root to make it functional. That's why you can have plants that grow simultaneously potatoes and tomatoes, and there is a case of a tree in a garden in New York that is growing 40 different types of fruit because it has been similarly grafted. So they're not sure if this is a hoax that this woman is putting on or if she just missed the fact that an eggplant was accidentally grafted onto a tomato plant.
Huh.
However, I'm sure the people that feel the worst about it is the news station that now has eggplant on their face.
Yeah.
No.
I know, it was a long way to go for that joke, but for fuck's sake, they earned it. Now, I have a very sad what the fuck, and it's sad, it's gross, and it's fucking confounding. And, of course, when you have a what the fuck of this nature, it's from Florida.
Of course.
Your voice is getting really bad again.
Okay, there's a Florida man named Fidel Lopez. Police in Sunrise, Florida responded to a 911 call from this man at about 3:39 on Sunday morning. They found his girlfriend, Maria Nemeth. Her body was naked on the floor, according to the newspaper, the Sun Sentinel. The arrest report said that blood and tissue were found scattered throughout the couple's apartment. Blood was smeared on the walls, the bathroom door had been ripped off the hinges, and police found a bottle of tequila and cut limes in the kitchen. This already sounds bad.
Right.
Yeah.
During the initial questioning, Lopez claimed that the two were having rough sex when Nemeth went into the bathroom, vomited, and died. To which police said, okay, what's with the blood and tissue everywhere? Right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Lopez later admitted that he became what he called a monster when Nemeth twice uttered her ex-husband's name during sex. He then said that he inserted a beer bottle and a curling iron in Nemeth's vagina and anus.
Oh!
Whoa!
What the fuck?
Lopez believe it or not, this gets worse. Lopez suggested that she had been too intoxicated to resist. He then said he inserted both fists before putting his arm up in her to the elbow and ripping out intestinal matter.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
And then to make this even weirder, Lopez then told authorities that he had a cigarette after disemboweling his girlfriend, and he finished it. And after he finished it, she had stopped breathing. I mean, I'm not trying
to execute him right now.
Yeah, I'm not trying to gross anybody out. I didn't look for the weirdest story ever, but when this came up in my feed, there are only so many words you can use to describe this, and this is just horrendous. From top to bottom. If anything this guy said is true, then there is no point in allowing him to continue to walk the earth.
I agree.
Execute him right now. Be Judge Dredd. Just do it right now.
You know, I mean, as soon as he's found guilty, you might as well just walk a bailiff up to the defendant's table, shoot him in the head, and drag his body out and toss it to alligators, for fuck's sake. And he sounded so casual about the whole thing. He stopped to have a cigarette after he pulled this crap out of her?
I don't even... There had to be more than just tequila involved.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
I don't know. I really don't know. And again, I'm not trying to gross anybody out. I didn't look for horrible stories, but this is one of those things that I guess I shared simply because I didn't want to be alone in my knowledge about something this fucking weird.
You know
And we hate you for that.
I'm with you on that. I understand that.
The callousness of that is just...
I know, and all this for twice uttering the wrong name during sex, which is... Okay, and when you're in the midst of sex, you're not exactly the most attentive person to details. If you're half drunk, you're even worse on those particular details. But getting that level of upset over something that you're currently in the act of with, you know, usually the response, if you're upset, stop, talk, find out what's on her mind, not find out what's in her goddamn abdomen. Freak's sake. And unfortunately, I have to move from that shit story to another shit story. Etsy is now selling pills ahead of the holiday season so that you can add glitter to your poop.
What?
Gross. That's almost worse than the last story.
There's an Etsy seller who's selling... I don't know. There's an Etsy seller selling gold glitter pills, okay? Just in case you want your shit to be Kanye West. I don't fucking know. The item's description says that it doesn't specify if you're supposed to eat them, but the whole pill does imply that the product is intended for oral consumption. You're supposed to swallow these things, and then it makes your poo shimmer?
Well, you know, it doesn't even matter if it's oral, because then the only other way to do it would be a suppository, and I don't really think that's any better.
I didn't say I had a good answer for what the fuck is going on here. It is what it is, unfortunately.
Alright, I looked up gold glitter pill on Etsy. Just on the first page, I got 3 people selling it.
What the fuck?
There's at least one. I mean, the main seller, according to this story, is glitter pills. And you can get them for less than 5...
6, 7...
They're apparently a British product. You can get them for less than £5 of British money.
There has to be some kind of story behind this.
13, 14, 15, 16...
Look, dude, I don't know who took a dump, looked in the bowl, and said, that's not pretty enough. Okay? That's just not the way I think.
Look at the bowl and, think
usually
about other than flush this.
There are 2 fucking pages of this shit.
Usually after I'm done, I'm in a hurry to get away from whatever's in that bowl, okay? I mean, I don't even hang around after I flush. I want it gone.
Oh my god, they get different colors to go with it, too.
Yes. Yeah, you can get all kinds of colors. But I'm going to leave that shitty story behind, because I have a serious what the fuck, which is a 12-minute video, which V might force us to watch in its entirety.
Okay, why?
Well, as you know, there's a boom in virtual reality going on. As of next year, the Oculus Rift hits retail, and we've had some interesting moments, right?
Yeah.
There's a party out there that's called the Enterprise 3D Construction Project.
Okay, you might be completely right about that.
I know I don't have to go any further, but I do have to describe this for other people. The Enterprise 3D Construction Project, what they did, or what their aim, is to recreate the NCC 1701D, the Next Generation Enterprise, in a full 3D model that can be traversed by a wearer from the bridge to engineering.
Interesting.
They've created a sample video that is 12 minutes long. It starts out with you in a shuttlecraft being recalled to the Enterprise, and that's where it begins. Do we want it?
Amazing. Yes.
Sure.
Okay, she said yes, but I could suddenly feel something sharp right in my ball, so I'm going to go ahead and send the video. All of a sudden, I'm very scared. So it's powered by Unreal Engine 4, Enterprise D Construction Project. It's pre-alpha footage and considered to be work in progress.
Shuttlecraft Galileo.
When she sees this, she's not going to care.
Return to base.
That's a big asteroid.
Oh
I wonder if you
God.
can glitter to make that look... Yeah, maybe you can use glitter and make that more appealing. So the shuttle is now moving. And that's a collision problem.
Dodging
No.
some asteroids.
Move.
Galileo, that was a close one.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Not close together, but okay, other than this.
Shuttlecraft Galileo, that craft is not a toy.
You notice that thing on the edge of the star?
Yep. It's way too close, but whatever.
That's no
it
move.
has shields, I'm sure.
It's actually not that
Yeah.
close to the star.
Oh.
It's all about perspective.
No,
Perspective
yeah,
in
you're
space can
right.
be rather messed up.
Galileo, you are
Yeah.
cleared for landing in main shuttle bay 1.
As Gunbuster taught me. Ha 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 ha. What do you think of the music?
I like it.
Motion picture.
Familiar.
Soundtrack.
I thought I heard V cry for a moment.
It's beautiful.
Tears of joy.
And then you look down in VR and realize you're wearing a red shirt and you're fucked.
Actually, for this series, it'd be yellow. Or gold.
Okay, Galileo, we are bringing you in.
Why
In
did
this
they have a
series, it was
runabout
any
there?
shirt that didn't have a command insignia on it. They had runabouts on that ship. They used several.
Really? I thought it was a DS9
Yeah.
thing only.
No, they used runabouts in TNG first, and then they co-opted a couple models for DS9.
Ah.
Galileo,
Tractor beam
you
parking.
are secured. Welcome home.
So do you have an idea of the depth of this build so far?
Yes, and I want it. Really,
V
really,
is speechless. Well, take a look. He's opening the shuttle bay cargo door.
Oh god.
What?
Field of view is making me nauseous, actually.
Look, I didn't know the shuttle bays in that ship were supposed to be that large.
Yeah, actually, this
I mean,
is
I knew-
larger than they picked in the series by far.
Well, maybe it's just
Unless
because they
this
were
is-
able to... Maybe because it's a virtual build, they were able to actually follow the schematics instead of the limits of a studio.
Right, and I want to say there might be multiple shuttle bays.
Yeah,
Oh, there
there's
are,
at least
usually.
3. There's this one and the 2 right a few decks below.
This is
Right.
the primary shuttle bay. And so you have limited controls. You can actually open and close some doors on this thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
This is so.
Yeah, the
freaking
field of
sexy.
view on this thing is actually making me sick, actually.
You know, V, do me a favor and warn Brandon. He might get accosted tonight, please.
Wait, what? Yeah. I think he's warned.
Okay. See, she caught on. I like that that projection in the bottom, the starboard sharks.
Skateboard sharks.
I think it's at starboard.
Yeah, I think it's starboard.
Starboard is right.
Yes. This would be the right side compared to where he walked.
No, this is the back of the damn ship. Or
You walk towards the starboard side of the shuttle bay. You can hear all the sounds that they've inserted.
Mm-hmm.
I really should know my
Aft is the back of the ship, Jesse.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, port would be the left side.
Yes.
Cargo elevator.
I love
Giant
this
containers
stuff.
of Gatorade. Oh, wait.
V's
It's
enjoying
just-
herself just because she's planning her Romulan invasion of the ship now.
Yes.
I just say starboard. Okay.
Well, check this out. You can actually open the side cargo bays.
Deck 4.
Maybe if you could throw around containers.
That's her first thought. Oh my god, I could walk around the starship and wreck this fucking thing.
Transporter pads.
1 minute. Clear the flight path.
Oh yeah, you want even better?
Transporter. Nice.
They're interactive. And there went V's inhibitions. No, wait, they're back.
Starboard tractor control.
Okay, V, you're our Trek nerd. What do you think?
I
Oh, nice.
want this so bad.
And this is the pre-alpha even. This isn't even close to finished. And they've got this. And for those people who
I don't
don't
even know
we-
what to do with it. I'll just be in here and stare at the ship for hours in one space.
Yeah, so far all they've done is wander around the main cargo bay, and V is losing her goddamn mind. But it's even better because he's about to wander outside of the main shuttle bay.
Oh yes.
Turbolift 2 with stairs.
Recognize these halls?
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at this, one of the lounges
10
above the
forward.
shuttle bay. No,
Or,
this isn't 10 forward. This is above the
Oh,
shuttle
yeah.
bay.
right.
10-4's on deck 10.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Not deck 4.
Yep. The description on the story on Kotaku said that they did go through 10 forward in this video. I sat through the whole thing. They did not. They went through a couple side lounges, but they did not actually go through 10 forward. I'm excited in the fact that this is alpha. I can only imagine what this will look like when they manage to get the build to the point where there are random crew members wandering around.
Yeah.
I'm just somewhat disappointed that there's actual stairs.
Yeah.
Like I said, there may be some stuff in the schematics I'm not aware of.
I don't know.
But-
I'll have to. I actually have some technical schematics in my house, so I'll have to go look.
You
Wouldn't
would.
Wouldn't this kind of make sense, though? Because you do have to get between decks for one of the many times the turbo lifts don't work.
Yeah,
Well,
that's usually why they climb up the
Jeffrey's
turbolift
tubes.
shafts.
Or the turbolift shafts, yeah. Jeffrey's tubes or the turbolift shafts.
Nerding up. Escape Pod 6.
Still haven't seen
We're
the
leaving.
toilet.
Oh.
Hey, this is where people get shot down.
He's
It's
like,
6
I
people
don't think I want to
comfortably.
step in there. It might accidentally go off.
Wouldn't
Just
that be
a very
horrible? You
funny
finish the
fact.
VR dying in space.
When there isn't, something going on, people probably use the escape pods for.
I would
Other
freak the
things.
fuck out if you... Oh, here's 2 forward. Here's one of the lounges.
I like the music.
Yeah.
I like the view. Take a look.
A lot of lounges.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, this is...
There's 3D
Oh, nice,
chess.
the chess.
I need one of those chess sets today.
I would freak the fuck out if every once in a while you wander through here and then, like, Nagilum appears to you.
Nagila?
Nagilum was this weird creature in the first season that was experimenting on humans. He caught them in an extra-dimensional space or
Oh,
something.
right, yeah, you're right.
He planned on killing up to half the crew just to find out what they considered life.
Yeah.
That freaked me the fuck out as a kid. I lost sleep to that thing.
It would be very easy to get yourself lost in here.
Considerably.
Although, it would be nice if they incorporated the ability to, use the wall panels.
Yeah.
Well,
the way they
again,
showed in
this
like
is
the first episode where he has to find the holodeck.
this is pre-alpha, so that's entirely possible. My question is, could you imagine what Star Trek Online would have been if it was even close to this?
Oh, I know.
And in the future.
My favorite
that's-
part of Star Trek Online was already this ship-to-ship combat and everything, but yeah, if you could do this kind of a thing on your own ship, that would be awesome.
Bunch of people saluting as you walk by. Bridge access. He's going. The conference room. A lot of stuff happened in here.
I think that was a placeholder text for that, though.
The chairs are very purple.
Well, honestly, though, when the scenes happen in here, you never really focus on the chairs.
They were, kind of grayish purple.
All the Enterprises.
I was saying they're purpler than I think they
Wait, here it is.
terribly important.
The Hilton. I'm not kidding. V probably knows. The Enterprise D bridge was based on a lobby of a Hilton in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
You notice the disembodied voices they added?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Look at the wood detail on the thing there.
Yeah, I know. It looks like wood. Look, the head.
They never ever show
Wait,
the
there's
head.
a. Notice the. You notice the joke right there?
Yeah, three seashells.
3 seashells. Demolition Man joke. You can sit in the chair.
Little children and ships named
Wait, is he
This almost seems like an episode of TNG. You're just wandering around going, where the fuck did they go?
It's like that one episode where Beverly gets left on the
Ready.
Enterprise alone.
Yep, Captain's ready room, complete with that weird aquarium he had behind him.
And the Prometheus.
Yeah.
Prometheus means Stargate?
Or no, Stargazer, sorry.
Oh yeah, the Stargazer. There's that weird print that everybody ended up buying like halfway through the show. Weird artifacts you would collect. We've actually gone through this entire, almost the entirety of this 12-minute video. V has been so enwrapped. And now we're disembodied and floating outside the ship.
It would be interesting if they allowed you to do the saucer separation.
Yeah. Oh, this must be the Q.
Oh my god, that was badass.
This must be the Q view. Okay, now that we've seen it, pre-alpha footage, Unreal 4 engine. What's your determination, young lady?
I'm physically aroused by this. God.
They're just slowly floating by.
I can't.
Imagine what would happen, though, if they fully do this build and you can, program the holodeck.
Oh, wow.
Almost as good as having a holodeck. So if you want to view this yourself, you can either check YouTube under Enterprise D Virtual Tour or go to www.enterprise3dproject.com. This thing will be Oculus enabled. V, if you and your boyfriend buy an Oculus and get this program, you have to bring it with you one of the times we're all in the same room.
I think that can be arranged.
Okay, now, also on What the Fuck, you guys remember the name of Frank Cho?
Yes.
Sounds familiar.
He's a comic book artist. He's one of the people who didn't understand why people freaked out over the Milo Manara Spider-Woman variant, remember?
Mm-hmm.
He drew a couple pictures in simple protest, just just his way of joking at people that were complaining.
Right.
Some people online have decided to complain about Frank Cho's work in particular because he always draws very bodacious females. It's been his style since before he joined Marvel and was doing independent books. It's just the way his art has grown up, and I guess you could say he's a guy and that's the way guys are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, instead of going to the complainers and drawing a long statement about why he thinks he's correct and they're not, instead, he decided to take a sketch cover to the Secret Wars, #1, which is a blank cover of A-Force. And he drew all over it in his own version of protest. And he drew the She-Hulk, which is not a slim character by any means.
Oh, yeah.
However, if you take a look at the picture I just sent you, his version of the She-Hulk is trying to fit her own breast inside her goddamn costume.
I love it.
And it says the quote, "Don't they know how long it takes for me to shove my giant boobs into these skin-tight costumes?" it wasn't so much a rebuttal of people
Starring
complaining.
the voluptuous She-Hulk.
Yeah, it wasn't so much a statement, an argument of why he draws. It's more or less just a statement of the fuck, you know? Who cares? This is what I do. This is what I'm going to continue to do. Whatever. You know, this isn't a statement so much as sexiness. It's just, this is how I ply my trade. I'm going to continue to ply my trade. Whatever.
You know what? I'm all for however he does it, because that's funny.
His artwork is incredible. Maybe sometime I should take you through the first volume of the Mighty Avengers. Steve knows what that's about. No, remember, Steve, the Sentry nearly pulling off Ultron's head with his bare hands?
Yeah.
That was a sight to behold. Okay, sometimes there are people you should never trash talk, and it happens more often online because people use video gaming as a way to let off steam. And unfortunately, because they think because you can't see them and don't know exactly who they are, that gives them a right to say whatever they want, right?
Right.
Can't do that. There's a man named Mark Hunt. He's in Australia. He may be one of the toughest living fighters in the UFC today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's putting out an autobiography called Born to Fight on September 29th. The writer Mark Surles on Kotaku got his hands on an early copy for review, and there was an interesting item in there he called a public safety announcement. In the book, Mark Hunt talked about Counter-Strike a lot. He's a player. He loves Counter-Strike. This story stuck out to the writer. Quote, "There was one particularly embarrassing moment in my Counter-Strike life when I was performing poorly in an online session, and some keyboard warrior kept writing me and writing me. Things got heated, and I ended up asking this dude where he lived. He told me, and to my delight, his place was just around the corner from me.
Really? Wow.
Wow.
When I got to this guy's house, a 10-year-old opened the door. I asked the kid where his dad was, and he said he was at work. I went home with a face so red I was about to spontaneously combust," unquote.
He went to go kick a 10-year-old's ass.
And he was fully prepared to do it until he realized it was a 10-year-old.
What?
You know, could you imagine being that kid, though? You're just sitting there going, "You're a cocksucker. You're a fucking idiot. Hang on, door. Hi, mister."
I don't normally advocate child violence, but I would have given it a go-ahead.
Would have at least contemplated it seriously. And last up in what the fuck?
Sounds like he needed a lesson at any rate.
Yeah, he almost got one, and he doesn't know how close he came to probably dying, frankly. And last up in what the fuck is it's another video game what the fuck of a different caliber. There's an Englishman named Adam Jones. He's 24 years old. He has no driver's license. He's never taken a license exam. He was arrested last week by the police for driving over 100 miles per hour through the town of Grantham.
Wow.
After he was arrested, he caused thousands and thousands of pounds worth of damage to parked cars in the town. He caused a speedy escape stopped by a stinger spike system. You know, basically a spike strip.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been sentenced to 12 months of prison this week. Do you want to know how he learned to drive?
Grand Theft Auto?
PlayStation.
Yep. That reminds me of the 15-year-old I saw wreck a Trans Am stick. 15, never driven before. And yeah, just totally crashed into a fence. Then proceeded to drive off.
Yeah, the judge even cited the guy during sentencing. Said, quote, "You said you only learnt to drive on a PlayStation game. You were driving like a PlayStation game. You drove as fast as you could as if in a video or PlayStation game without any care for those around you," unquote.
Yeah, that's not how you're supposed to drive in real life, and anyone should know that.
I know. The best comment, though, on this was actually by one of the commenters on Kotaku. He was called Liquid X. He said, quote, "Me, I learned surgery from Surgeon Simulator 2015. Now I can never return to California," unquote.
Wow.
God damn it. That's one of those proofs. Just because you did it in a video game doesn't mean you have any clue how this shit works in real life.
Yeah.
Okay, the discussion of the week is the Boom Studios comic Irredeemable. Irredeemable is an interesting story of a Superman-like character called the Plutonian. It was written by Mark Waid, and it had a comment on it by Grant Morrison. The story is that this superhero, this paragon of justice, freaks out and snaps and decides that he is going to run the fucking world. That's the short version of what goes on here.
It's a good synopsis.
I don't know if he was deciding he was going to, at least in the first 4 issues, that he was going to rule the world, but yeah, he definitely snapped.
I mean, the first few pages of issue 1, once you get past a bunch of disturbing fucking covers, is him taking his world's version of Batman called the Hornet and hunting him back to his house with his family and incinerating them almost one by one with his heat vision.
Yeah.
It was quick.
It wasn't quite that quick because all that was left was the Hornet's daughter, and he taunted her before he left her in an inferno that was their house.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
You know, he did just about everything horrible he could. And to be fair, though, in the first few pages, it also lays out how hard he tries to save the world. And I'm not going to speak about world society, but just speaking about American society, the writer did a good job of exempling how even when you save people's lives, there were people out there who just won't fucking appreciate you.
Yeah.
That guy in the stand who said just a flippin' underwear pervert after he stopped a robot from going nuclear in the middle of a baseball stadium.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can understand why he was disappointed.
Well, disappointed. Understatement there.
Yeah, I mean, he was fucking irritated, no denying, but I mean, it's not like he took it out in that moment. And the first issue is really a lot of dialogue and setup because, you know, as we said, the character in the first issue has already gone crazy, the Plutonian. This alien from another world who's tried to assimilate into Earth and culture. And what's left is the other heroes he used to team up with are trying to figure out how to stop him by talking to what's left of his sidekick.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize what the hell is going on there.
Yeah.
It said a week later, and he's...
I guess what happened, he was dead and someone was talking to him as a spirit, right? And then
No.
They're talking to his corpse.
Basically,
They're not
they
talking to his
explained his
corpse.
powers. They explained his powers. The gem will essentially regenerate him every 24 hours. Now, he will not regrow body parts and so forth, but he cannot die. But when you look at the gem, when they're talking to him, it's cracked.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, his regeneration powers are not fully functional. So they literally buried this guy. He can't die.
He wakes
He
up
keeps
every
getting
evening
partially
as a barely
regenerated.
right, he wakes up every evening as a barely functional human being.
That's
Because
fucked up.
and of course, you know, they keep questioning him, and they're trying to figure out why he can't remember. And they look at the back of his skull, and he's been lobotomized
via heat vision.
So, yeah, it was so fucked up.
It was horrible. I mean, wonderfully horrible, but...
Yeah, and the first issue was, I guess you could say, wonderfully quick, because a lot of it was his former sidekick, Samsara, attempting to remember things, but because his brain is so badly scrambled, it's almost impossible. And when the other heroes finally find out, they do the kind thing and release him so he can rest as best he can in the graveyard. But of course, about the time they start coming up with a plan is when the Plutonian shows up knowing exactly where they are because of, you know, enhanced senses. Yeah, enhanced senses, and he starts raising the graveyard, and they use these teleportation bracelets to run away. I mean, the first issue sets up the tone of this series rather expertly, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, the fact that as they get away, he just looks down on them all. You could kind of get the sense that he wasn't even really trying, and then he just gives this evil grin and says, "Perfect."
Yeah. I mean, if he was trying, it shouldn't have been pretty easy for him to, in one sweep, to take at least 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I thought the guy that, you know, look up in the sky, which I started cracking up, but but you could tell, you know, at the following picture that they all got away, and I'm just like, okay, if the guy was even half trying, They wouldn't even have seen him coming.
Yeah.
Clearly he's trying to teach them something, or just...
I think it's a mixture of things, because I don't believe wholesale slaughter is what he necessarily wants, but he's perfectly capable of it, because he just seems to be tired of playing crony to a bunch of beings he no longer determines are worth his time. But they do make it clear throughout the first 4 books, he does have some level of sentimentality.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to destroy things, but if he determines it's just going to be a test of his patience, he's not going to deal with it. He's just going to wreck it and get on with things.
He had the worst picking girlfriends.
Yeah.
Oh God, the second issue was such an extreme example of that.
Oh God.
Because we get a look at the one Asian member of the crew, Kaiden, who has the ability, it seems, to empower and recall spirits, which played heavily throughout this book.
Yeah.
But, most of the second issue had to do with Alana Patel, who is this universe's allegory for Lois Lane, the intrepid reporter who the Plutonian is in love with.
She's not a reporter,
she's a sound engineer.
That's right. They work on a TV show and a radio station.
Radio station. I don't think it's TV.
Yeah, and for reasons that weren't exactly clear, at one point, the Plutonian decides to share his secret identity with her, and she immediately...
He asks her to marry him, but
she's confused.
But yeah, because it was the not creepy but goofy
Dan
guy
Hardigan
that has a crush on her at work.
Yeah,
and then he reveals to her that no, he was the Plutonian. Yeah, didn't go so well. Which I have to say was probably the one thing that I didn't really like about that. To me, I could think of better ways for him to reveal himself to her, but at the same time, that struck me as somewhat unreal. That kind of reaction, where she immediately just goes, "Oh, you've been lying to me all this time, and it's been some kind of a joke." And I was like, "Yeah, that was a little extreme."
At least thought at some point, wait, this guy could incinerate me if I piss him off.
It's one of those things that in the heat of the moment didn't make a lot of sense to me, but in retrospect, it made more sense as I thought about it, because the Plutonian in this format represents kind of Superman at his most 80s, when he was this paragon of justice that could barely do wrong. And he had a similar sort of reveal moment with Lois Lane that went much better than this, obviously. Also, there was the idea of her response, and I could almost understand a lot of what she's going through, because she just found out that the guy who was goofily involved with her was the guy that she was in love with, who had basically been following her around, almost stalker-ish, for God knows how long.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, okay. If I'm taking... If it's literally thinking of it like Superman and Lois Lane, I guess I can see why it's super fucking creepy.
Her anger, I was with. Her petty response in revealing, immediately to the rest of the crew in the station of his identity, I wasn't with. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that fucked up people can do.
Yeah.
Especially when they're
at
angry.
At least she did it, right then, instead of later, I'm going to reveal it to people. I could see someone doing it, pissed off, hey, he's a Plutonian.
Yeah. I was amazed at the segment where the broadcaster of the radio station is about to reveal his identity to the world, and he flies up and just immediately destroys the satellite before they can even finish the fucking transmission.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it's one of those things very in the power range of a Superman allegory, but even then, in that moment, it just seems so incredible that he did it. And then when he came back, covered in smoldering molten metal, with that expression on his face...
Yeah.
Of a combination of hurt, betrayal, and just utter furious. Holy shit.
That was a good scene.
And the tirade afterwards when he says that they're all dead, he can't save any of them because now they know his identity and there's people across the world who would torture, maim, and kill for that from all of them.
Rape and destroy their loved ones and so forth, and yeah. Yeah, he kind of laid it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the guy who was the radio personality says, "We won't, we never." And he says, "Ever? You'll never breathe a word of this to anyone ever? Not even in your sleep, or when you're drunk, or tired, or lonely?" And that's one of those moments where you go, "You're fucked up."
Well,
but
yeah,
you're right.
But totally
you're right.
It's been touched on in other things.
Yeah. And, he separates Alana to talk to her, and she just rejects him.
Yeah, he tells her, I forgive you, and she's just like, nope, not having any of it.
Yeah. That's the part where I really, the first part, okay, I thought it was a little bit extreme, but maybe understandable. The second part, where she rejects him at that point, I think she should at least be he just destroyed a satellite and threatened everybody in the room. Her response seemed incongruous with that.
I don't know. It's one of those things where it requires context, and that's one of those things that's a little hard to come across in a still form of storytelling. And it's one of those things that's emotionally a lot for both sides, because, again, it's one of those things that requires you to slow down and think about it, because you just had this guy who you revealed the secret of the world to. You've decided you can't trust him. He disappears for a couple seconds and comes back and basically tells everybody you've worked with and enjoy a relationship with is fucking dead. And then he suddenly whisks you away to God knows where in the U.S. and says, okay, I forgive you. You fucking manic depressive bipolar piece of what?
Yeah, but...
No, I think...
Just the part about being... I agree, rejecting him was probably... makes sense. It's just the manner in which she did it was...
I don't know. Yeah, I just... it's not even the fear factor. It's just the fact that, supposedly she's in love with this man and just completely blows him off was the part that I was just like...
Yeah,
but she didn't blow him off. He said that he still loved her despite everything that happened, and she just said simply that she didn't even know who he was, really.
Well, you know what? That's true, because love is...
He was keeping a ton of secrets from her. What's the truth?
Yeah, knowing the person.
It's not like she just told him to go fuck himself in the horse he rode in on. She was just honest that now she's not sure what she knows about him. And that's, given the circumstances, that's fair.
True.
That's true.
I don't know. I would believe that I would give somebody a little more of a chance than that, I guess.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I would at least set it up with, well, let's talk, or something like that.
Yeah.
But people are different. There are some people that can handle second chances, and there's other people that can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well,
and there's some people they're terrified of a god that could kill them with a thought.
Yeah, except that she was dating that god, so she was obviously somewhat comfortable with it at that point. But then all of a sudden, when he reveals the fact that he tried to be, a little more normal, I don't know. I guess that his secret identity, she wasn't comfortable with.
It's not just a secret identity.
Those two people, those two individuals, was not possible for her.
I think that's the problem, was the reconciliation, because she knew two different personalities of one person that turned out to be the same individual. So you kind of have to question which aspects of which personality are the ones that you're actually talking to.
Which one's real?
Yeah. It's not quite as clear cut as this is Batman and this is Bruce Wayne to her. She doesn't really understand which questions she asked the Plutonian or which questions she asked Dan Hardigan had the honest answers. And this guy took it kind of a step further, because he didn't just put on a pair of glasses and a different set of clothes. He somehow changed his hair. It looked like he might have been able to change his facial structure in different ways. So you really have no clue if this is where it ends. Is it just these two personalities? Is there something else out there where he's been following you and you have no idea?
That's true.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
So
and it does go on to show that he was keeping a lot of secrets.
Yeah, and
it wasn't just that other personality.
I think that's the point that broke her. Not necessarily that she was convinced that this is just some stalker asshole, but now she just has no idea what to believe about him. And it gets even weirder in the last couple images when the tech member of their crew, Cubit, has reactivated a bunch of androids made in the likeness of the Plutonian's worst enemy to try and figure out how to defeat him.
Yep.
Well, at first you weren't even sure. I was kind of curious as to whether or not he even had links with that guy ahead of time.
Who, Modius?
Yeah. Because
they showed in the flashbacks in the second issue that he is the Plutonian's worst enemy and nearly defeated him a couple times.
No, what I was saying was, it was like, was that actually Mobius? You didn't even know at where they ended it at that point. It wasn't made clear that those are androids, and you're sitting there going, okay, there's multiples of these guys.
My first
reason
thought
why he went rogue because he found out that his team was working with his worst enemy. What's going on?
Actually, my thought was considering the guy that was working the back room. I thought they were like clones of a dead guy. I thought that guy had the ability to resurrect.
I was thinking it was like some sort of multiple manpower kind of thing.
It gets, yeah. Well, it definitely became creepier in the third fucking issue, the beginning of that.
Oh yeah.
When he had a guy that looked like him had sex with somebody else who was dressed up like a Bête Noire, another member of his former team.
Yeah, what's up with that?
And then sat there and started having her call out for him to save her.
Yeah.
They haven't yet shown any backstory between those two characters, except for that one scene.
Yeah.
It started to develop after that. It seems that the time between Alana rejected him and before he freaked out, he started to develop romantic feelings for Bête Noire, who's married to another member of the team.
Where did they show that?
I had read about 12 issues of this in its original run.
Okay, so it might start saved after these issues.
Yeah. Sorry?
No, I was just going to say the eventual resolution of that when he faces off against those villains and then asks the chick at the end, I wonder how you would look in a wig. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's fucking creepy.
Okay, now I got some context to what the hell that meant. Shit.
Yeah.
I don't think it helps.
Yeah, and it turns out a bunch of former villains, while the Plutonians creating chaos across the world, decide to break into the Hornet's lair.
No, that wasn't the Hornet. It was the Inferno.
Yeah.
So
Inferno,
it seems like there was two kind of Batman-esque people.
I guess so.
This world.
It's a brilliant place to hide, though. They were right. For a bunch of villains, that's a good place to hide out. The guy who's already dead. They decide to raid the place. I love the fact that when they finally get into the living quarters, they get into the kitchen, and there's the Plutonian making coffee with his heat vision.
Yeah, and just completely ignores them.
Which, for a Superman character, is completely appropriate.
Yeah.
They're so far beneath his worry right now.
So far beneath.
I actually really enjoyed that particular sequence where they were just all freaking out.
Yeah.
And just how...
I like self-destruct thing, too.
Yeah. Yep. How untrustworthy they were. Oh, they're sucking up to him, and he just kind of leads them on into thinking, oh yeah, here's something that he might have figured out that could hurt me, and let's see if I can trust you, and doesn't even get to finish explaining before they all just hit the button to try and kill him.
Of course,
I know.
It's not going to be an actual...
No, I mean, who's that stupid? But just the fact that he's standing in the middle, and he says so dryly, wow, I didn't even get to do the end of the sentence.
Yeah, just it pretty much completely not shocking him.
No. And he just incinerates everybody, including somebody that was spying on him, and all that was left was one woman who was fortunate enough to put up a force field fast enough, and as Steve said, he just wanted to find out what she looked like in a wig all of a sudden.
Yeah, they didn't show her die.
She stayed alive throughout the majority of this run. He kept toying with her.
Apparently, she looks good in the wig.
I was just about to say that.
Well, that's something that's also kind of not explored in a character like this who may not have much of a love life. What happens when you have no sex life, but you have the same kind of desires?
Mm.
And unfortunately,
they came with a lot of frustration there.
Yeah, they came up with...
It does make me kind of wonder if they explore the viability of a Superman-like character having sex with, ordinary mortals.
I don't know if they got that far because, honestly, that was one of those things I wasn't interested in this book. As I said, my attraction to this series is that we've often theorized what would happen if Superman was the villain, and we've seen, Elseworlds tales that seem relatively tame. In this format, it is, the most horrible, tremendously fucked up things that could possibly happen were all happening at once.
Yeah,
right.
There's not...
I have to say, in certain aspects, I have to feel for the guy because, you do understand. Yeah, he was just completely
alienated
shat upon by, lost his girlfriend. The emotional trauma of all that happening, the fact of like some of his teammates, with in the fourth episode where it goes through how Cubit, the smart guy, with apparent control of machines and everything, and his first meeting with the Plutonian, and how he was just snarkily asked, "Oh, well, how is that, responsibility and the powers, and the guy just kind of flies off, and he thinks he's being, just, really
cryptic,
humble or something, and then all of a sudden at the very end, where they're trying to save the people of Singapore, and he's just like, pick 10 people, and then he kills those 10 people instead of letting him save them.
No, he keeps those 10 people and kills everyone else.
No, he killed those 10 people. He fired off his heat vision and then basically said to the back of the, not even looking at the guy, "That's how it feels." And then proceeded to kill the rest.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I thought it seemed like he killed him too, but
I don't know. I basically saw him activate his heat vision. I was just like, oh shit, he just,
maybe
thought he was saving 10 people and instead he just picked out 10 people to get killed.
Pulling it up.
No, he allowed Cubit to save 10 people and incinerated the rest.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Okay. All right. I thought he just
slightly less fucked up, but not very much.
But even still, yeah.
But I mean,
after say, oh yeah, okay, at that point then it becomes, okay, you can save 10 people, but the rest of these guys die, and that's what my power and responsibility feels like.
Well, not just that. I mean, he incinerated the rest of the people they managed to save from his tirade, but right after he did that, the Plutonian flew away, broke several parts of the landmass, and fucking pushed on Singapore until it sank into the ocean.
Right. And that because of the representative of Singapore lied to him about feeling, what was it, grateful?
Fear, I think.
Well, he asked him why would Singapore, invite him into the country, and the guy lied and said, we feel grateful to you, and he was just okay, fuck it, you lied to me.
It was the lie itself because it was an extension of everything else that's happening. Most of the Plutonian's feelings at this point were about the alienation and people not treating him like another human being, and this was another case of it.
Exactly.
So he took it out on the whole country. I mean, the scene in the UN when he drops in on their debate about what to do about them, then they offer him citizenship, and another country offers to make him king, and another one says anything you desire. It almost reminds me of the John Oliver talking about politics as war for pussies, because all their strong rhetoric instantly vanished.
Right, and and it starts with the murder of the U.S. representative who's sitting there trying to convince everyone else to gang up on him. Not that would have ended well.
Yeah.
But just basically does the whole Superman freeze breath thing on him, shatters him, and then just says, "You know what? I liked where this debate was going before he's started doing this whole thing."
But like I said, it was the most fucked up stuff because it's not like he shattered him with a punch. After he froze him in the block, he just whistled a little bit, and the hypersonic pulse shattered the ice.
Yeah.
I mean, for fuck's sake, even when he's being cruel, he is just beyond imagination. I mean, it's only...
Yeah, there really is... Well, I was just going to say, there really is no way for... he is, for all intents and purposes, a god to these people. Everybody keeps saying, how do you stop him? We don't know anything about him. This isn't, a character that, they've found a kryptonite for or something like that. There is no limit to his power. They were so unprepared for this. And, yeah, to try and play catch-up now, it's far.
Yeah, you're way too late.
Well, it's Superman without the social graces because, as Steve said, no one really tried to get to know him. They treated him like you would expect the real world to treat him. A lot of people were grateful. Some just had no idea how to be grateful. And in exchange, what do you really know about anybody? You know about as much about this guy as you know from anybody on fucking Twitter. He exists. You know, it seemed like everybody assumed he had some kind of limitations or exploitations, or that he was just too nice to ever flip on them like this. Yet here we are.
Exactly.
You know, I always consider, when I read Irredeemable, I consider it to be Superman in a real-world scenario, because he did face down a lot of the things that you don't generally see in DC Comics. Everyone is so excited when Superman flies in and saves them. No one ever thinks about personal cost, mental cost, you know, even financial cost to people who just lost homes and businesses and shit.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they do somewhat explore the effects on Superman in the fact that he has this Fortress of Solitude, and they have shown him at other times, you know, flying up, you know, into space just to kind of get away from it all and things of that nature. But
it's not.
But this guy didn't. It's not that he didn't necessarily have any of that. You know, he talks about his volcano getaway, which I found kind of amusing. But the fact that his confession, his love life just completely gets, you know, does the 180 and everything.
Well, he didn't have the same fortunate turns Clark Kent did.
Exactly.
You know, this is what happens when shit doesn't work out for the Paragon. You know, and what are your responses? Because, you know, this world doesn't have allegories for, like, Wonder Woman. There's no one else even close to his level to discuss things with. So there's no one to really relate to for him. It's almost like the conundrum of Superman in reverse. You know, I have trouble relating to him because I am not some alien space Jesus. And the Plutonian in this case can't relate to normal people because he's not a normal person.
Right. And when he tries to be, he was rejected.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I found very intriguing about what Mark Waid and Peter Krause put together here, because as much as this is Superman on the worst, like, bipolar freak out I could ever think of, it's almost a meta dissertation on superhumans and their relationships to regular humans. Where does it begin? Where does it end? And is it ever possible for two people that are so disparate to ever come to an understanding? It was an amazing read, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree.
It was definitely. I was like, man, I want to read what happens after this. This was one of those where I was sorely tempted to just go ahead and find the next issue so that I could read more.
What'd you guys think of the art? Because I thought it was very stark. You know, it wasn't fleshed out like a lot of comic books were. There were some details that seemed to be missing. But at the same time, it was the kind of world they were in. You know, the world was so busy in havoc, there was really no time to pay attention to details.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the art didn't bother me. It wasn't...
No, I'm not saying that as a knock. I'm not saying that's a knock against the art. I'm saying the art was very appropriate for the story that was being told.
Yeah, very dull, gray, and
you know, and kind of flat, because when you're in these circumstances, you're not going to worry about what color anybody is. You're going to be in a hurry moving out of the fucking way.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the costume change they showed, the difference between the Plutonian in his better days and what happens when he's just tired of fucking hearing it.
Wait, I missed that.
The Plutonian, when he was happy, had this giant red cape, this white costume with red trim, and this kind of blonde sweep over locks. When he was pissed off, he changed his costume to
cut and
red and black trim.
Oh, you're right. I wasn't thinking about that.
It's a complete 180 change that kind of showed the emotional shift that was happening here.
It does make me wonder how they end up, because, you know, they were, you know, in the second issue, they're trying to talk to Samsara and figure out, you know, what some of these clues that they obviously missed. I wonder if they will eventually elaborate on that.
I didn't read the entirety of it, but I can fill you in on some details if you want them.
Sure.
Okay. Modius, the villain who nearly defeated the Plutonium several times via techno-magical means, right?
Mm-hmm.
They found where he was hiding.
Oh, he was hiding?
Yes, he was in hiding. He was in hiding before the Plutonium freaked out, but he apparently did detect that something was wrong, so that's why he went into hiding. He's hiding in Samsara's skull.
Oh.
He grafted his brain patterns into an unused part of Samsara's brain.
Okay.
So he'd been hiding in there the whole time, and it turns out part of the reason why he was trying to get so close to the Plutonian is because he had this unrequited love for the Plutonian.
What?
What?
He was in love with him. And he wanted to find a hiding place that would allow him to stay close to this weirdo. And the worst part was about the time that Modius is about ready to reveal himself, because later in the series, Samsara became a more active character again. Because the Plutonian was looking for the days where he felt happier, and of course that was when everything was as best. You know, Samsara was doing his sidekick-style duties. So more and more times he invited Samsara out, and about the time Modius is ready to reveal that he's been stuck in Samsara's brain, you find out the Plutonian knew about it before he snapped.
Ooh.
And
so
he finished.
Maybe that's why he tried to lobotomize him?
It was part of it, yes, to lock him down so he couldn't escape.
Wow.
See how fucked up this gets?
Wow.
The volcano hideaway they alluded to, it existed. The one place where he was sure people would not be able to get to mess with him. It was his Fortress of Solitude. However, because it was in a volcano, it was also a lot like his life. It was very stark, very plain. It seemed to be a place where he just kind of sat and thought for a while and kept his most important items that meant something to him. That included the supervillain you saw at the end of Book 2.
Oh, okay, the one with the wig?
Yeah, he kept her. And put her in a wig.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else. There's a lot of details that are lost on me because one of the worst villains in this world became one of its greatest heroes.
What?
There's a character named Max Damage, and he about a year after Irredeemable started, he started in a secondary book. God, I can't remember what it's called. I think it was Indestructible. Okay?
Yeah, Indestructible. Okay. I saw that.
Yeah, Max Damage is one of the worst villains this world has ever seen, but not long after the Plutonian lost his mind and started attacking, he witnessed the Plutonian slaughtering people, and it was at that moment that he decided he just had enough of chaos. So he turned to try to save people, just because he saw enough death and destruction within a few days. He filled his thirst for it. He wanted no more.
Huh.
Wow.
But wait, here's the part that gets it really fucked up, because as a villain, his power set was nowhere near what the Plutonian's is. He is indestructible. Max Damage is 100% indestructible after the sun goes down.
Oh.
During the daytime, he is as vulnerable as any human. That's why he only shaves and cuts his hair during the daylight hours, because it's impossible at night.
Huh.
And the whole time he's dealing with this Harley Quinn-esque sidekick he's dealing with that just wants to continue to rape and pillage and fuck up things because no one is around to stop them anymore. Cops are too busy, obviously. And he just doesn't want to hear it. But he won't kick her away because at the same time he doesn't want to leave her to a fate that could be worse than death.
Yeah. Especially with...
And I know, I don't know a lot of the details. I can tell you that towards the end of this run, which was like 32 or 36, they did finally kill the Plutonian. It involved a bullet made out of magic wax. You know, the same kind of general weakness as Superman has for magic, the Plutonian has. But the Plutonian has some off-world adventures, and he had been subjugated by an alien race, so he had actually seen what he was doing wrong. And in his death, he begged Cubit, who was one of the few heroes still remaining, to allow him to redeem himself. And Cubit did it by spreading the soul and consciousness of the Plutonian across the multiverse. And in the last few pages of the last issue, that consciousness got in contact subconsciously with two guys named Joe and Joel. And they started drawing down an idea for a superhero. The creators of Superman are named Joel Siegel and Joel Shuster.
Right.
So it all became cyclical again.
In a way, yeah. That's crazy.
Now, I mean, I've yacked on long enough. Would you guys refer people to this comic?
Yes.
Certain people, yes. I wouldn't just refer it to somebody.
What, Billy? You want a superhero book? Here you go.
But yeah,
he's
people,
a superhero.
Yeah, people that could
stomach it.
enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, I could think of some people that just be like, oh wow, yeah.
I think people who have been reading comics for a long time would get a kick out of this because it is a superhero book where
It turns everything
is
on
flipped.
its head.
Nothing goes right for anybody. Even though the Plutonian is doing exactly what you picture he wants to do, it still doesn't feel like it's going right. Like nobody can get anything correct in this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, because obviously, that's the thing. He's reacting out of the hurt and the pain and so forth. And you can understand that, and of course his actions are horrible. But at the same time,
relatable.
It's not
fact that
impossible
he's
to understand him.
Yeah, well, and the fact that he's reacting that way is
kind of our fault.
Well,
not
but
our,
what I mean is like
the 20s created the global apocalypse via superhero. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can understand why he's reacting that way, but just going by basic knowledge, the reaction of that is not going to make you feel any better. So him going about and doing all of this is completely, not going to fix things. So yeah, you could totally see, he's getting it wrong. Everybody else is causing this in possibly for obviously they're not going out of their way to try and piss this guy off, but it's just humans being humans type thing.
Stupidity.
Yeah.
Well,
what did you think of the pacing though? I thought for 4 issues this was an astonishingly fast read.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
much
like
less
I said,
dry.
I definitely wanted to read more too because it was one of those things, especially where we left off. I don't know if 5 would have been a better stopping point or what, but yeah, I just left it in such a.
Well, 1 through 4 turned out to be a good suggestion because as I started reading the history of this book before the show, it turns out that it was written in 4-issue mini arcs. Basically issues 1 through 4 were volume 1, 5 through 8 were volume 2. I wouldn't even say it's like beginning and stopping points of stories so much as this is the first wave of pain that's coming. Then there's another wave of pain that's coming. Something of that nature.
Okay. Clench your teeth. Here comes the next 4.
Yeah, it's like as soon as the first 4 are done, you think that's as bad as this could possibly get. Saddle up.
Noted.
I mean, I'm like you guys. When I reread the first 4, and I had a lot of gaps in my memory, I just remembered enjoying this book for reasons I couldn't articulate. And now that I've reread it, I'm fucking astonished, and I really want to start digging through the rest of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is almost one of our pop cultural profiling events, and it's absolute
Exactly.
worst.
Yeah, when I was reading it, I was just like, man, I think we really kind of agree with the eventual outcomes of people with this kind of power set and everything.
'Cause that was one of the things we remarked on with Superman was that it's so hard for a character with all this possibility to relate to normal terrestrial morons. And that was one of the themes that seriously came out here is that superhumans and humans are just, they're not impossible to relate to, but there's just such a gap that no one will understand. It's like the people in the ballpark in the very first issue. They snickered, they sneered, they talked to themselves, but they forgot that this is a guy that can hear you from half a world away. There are no secrets.
Right. Well, at the same time, I don't even know if it's necessarily that they forgot, or if it was just oh, well, he's the good guy. He's not going to react anyway. I can say what I want to say, Especially because this really does seem to be taking place in America, and that is a lot of people's.
Yeah.
Oh, I can say what I want. First Amendment rights and this and that and everything else. It doesn't matter. Who's going to hold me accountable?
I know.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't understand what the First Amendment rights really really do for them.
No. But, I mean, this was Cable and Deadpool all over again. I remembered enjoying the book. I didn't remember why until I reread the book, and holy fuck. This is one of those stories that, on its surface, it seems very simple. Superhero does wrong. How does the world react? But this is the kind of book that has so many potential layers as to character motivations, formats, reactions. You could almost write a college dissertation about the nature of superheroes based on this book.
Yeah.
Almost. I totally think you could.
So it is just amazing. And I would refer this to a lot of long-term comic book fans. New ones I don't know about because, frankly, it requires a little bit of knowledge about what are considered comic book tropes to understand what they're referencing.
Yeah, maybe, but I think Superman is pretty iconic.
Well, Superman is iconic, but so many know Superman as what they call the big blue Boy Scout. Nobody thinks about what would happen if he just decided one day, I'm fucking done with you.
Didn't they try to do something like that in one of the Superman movies?
I don't think so.
Well, he got the red kryptonite thing going.
Yeah, but that was something different entirely. That was just anger-inducing kryptonite. I mean, this is somebody that, without any outside interference, just decided that humans weren't worth as much effort as he was putting into it anymore.
Well, I don't know about outside influence being not a part of this. It was pretty much all outside influence, but yeah, it was... There
was no expert coercion. There was nothing that corrupted his influence.
No,
this is a decision he made wholheartedly. And that's what
definitely came through as well.
Yeah.
He did not doubt his decisions, in these first four.
I'd say he stuck to his guns fairly well.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep going back over the last few pages of issue 4 where he destroyed Singapore and its citizens.
Right. And they're cowling out to him saying, I know you can hear me, millions of people, think about what you're doing. And no, he didn't have to think. He'd already made his choice.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
I know. When he stole that bracelet and just said choose 10, you wondered what exactly that was going to do. And then he annihilated everybody that group of heroes saved, except for the 10 that Cubit chose. And then he went back for the rest of the fucking country.
Well, he'd already been planning to do that in the first place. As Cubit was saying, throwing down the diamond and everything else, he understood what his plan was, and he's just like, don't do it.
Yeah. It was horrible, but like I said, this is well within the realm of possibility what I could imagine somebody from another planet with this much power who just had enough could potentially do.
Right, and he was from another planet, because they never actually, in the first 4, they're like, well, is he from another planet? Is he, a mutant?
Yeah,
what is he?
He's a 100% Superman allegory. He was adopted by people from the Midwest when he was found as a baby.
Okay.
He is an alien, which is why they call him the Plutonian. They think he came from outside that range.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, I would give this to a ton of people. This is one of those things that after rereading it, I need to find collected volumes again. I
might actually keep reading it at some point because I found it.
Oh, wow.
What is it, Jesse?
I was saying, V's interested in one of these comics.
V's always interested in darker stories, not negative ones, just darker ones.
Yeah.
She digs X Factor. I figured there was a good chance she'd really dig this. She likes Madrox. She likes Cable and Deadpool because it's a dark comedy. I mean, shit.
Yeah. Cable and Deadpool was hilarious.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to add? Because for a conversation I thought was going to be short, it got meta and long very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. What to do for next week? What to do?
Ant-Man?
The comic book or the movie?
I was thinking the movie, but...
Okay, I didn't know if you'd seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. And I'm going to add something extra to this. Because I have a feeling we've all seen the movie already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want all of you to go to either the website or whatever you use to listen to podcasts on. The latest episode of Hollywood Babylon came out.
Okay.
But Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman have not recorded a new show in the last 3 weeks.
Oh.
One of their producers put together a compilation of what they call Hollywood Babylon Comic-Con Theater. They took 4 issues of Batman Cacophony, which were written by Kevin Smith back in the, I think, late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Smith, members of the audience, and Ralph Garman took the comic, gave it out to the audiences on particular nights, and read through the story.
Just had them read through it?
With Ralph Garman's penchants for multiple voices and imitations.
Oh.
Because I figure it'd be something you guys could listen to. It's only a couple hours long. You can do it in your spare time, so it doesn't eat up all of your time. You know, just play it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to get your reaction because it is a performance piece based on a comic book that was written for DC. It's an official DC canon. And it was all written by Kevin Smith, so it might something, I don't know about relevant, but it's something new that we probably wouldn't read on our own, I would say.
Right.
I'm down to try it.
Sound good?
Sure.
All right. So next week it's Ant-Man and Hollywood Babylon Comic-Con Theater. Thank you very much for tuning in. I apologize for the technical issues and my cold. It seems like everything's been evened out except for my cough, and apparently Jesse's dying. Thank you for tuning in. Next week will be very media heavy. Have a great one. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And V.
Don't jerk and drive. Enjoy your fall. Wow, I was trying to say something about autumn, but that came out very badly worded.